normally do. My. Let me see if I put it in there.
12 minutes past 8 o'clock. I know you all are getting anxious. Good evening everyone, and welcome to the program. Welcome to the In the Spotlight radio show. It is 12 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour, and we thank you for your patience. Rennae is already in studios, so those of you who are joining us on the live, you can begin to say good evening and hello to us. We don't mind. But let me say hi and hello to those of you tuned in via Q95 FM radio. I always remind everyone that this is in fact a radio program that I simply stream on my social media platforms, primarily Facebook. Wherever you are this evening, we appreciate you and we thank you for tuning into the program. We are indeed happy to have you. I know many persons have been waiting anxiously for this particular program tonight. We just wanted to make sure that we are shared on the various platforms, on the various pages. So you can catch it on my Facebook page, on my public Facebook page, Ferdina Frampton. You can also catch it on the In the Spotlight radio show group as well. We're there as well. And I suspect Rennae is going to share it on her page in just a short moment. Acknowledging a few of the persons who support us on this program, Q95 FM radio, thank you so much for your support and allowing me to have free will to have whoever I wish on my program. This is really appreciated. Good evening, Mr. Gregoire. And Shaween, who is always here supporting and ensuring that everything is good to go on the program. Josephine Gabriel and Company, the producers of Barefoot Wine, thank you for your support. Deepex, thank you for your support. Jordan Jerome, Akim Lowe, and all the rest of you. It is indeed a pleasure to be here tonight, and we thank you for choosing us on the program. And we're going to get going and begin by saying good evening to our guest. Good evening to you, Lieutenant Francis.
Good evening to you, Ferdina. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm doing pretty good. I cannot complain. I'm in Dominica, so.
And you love Dominica?
Of course, always.
All right. Let me say thank you to you first for agreeing to be on the program tonight. I don't know if I told you how it happened, but I had Father later on last week,
right.
And we just happened to be sitting right out there, and we were in conversation, and your name came up, and your mom's name came up,
right.
And then he happened to mention that she's actually in Dominica. So I was like, huh? I said yes. He said yes. I said, can you message her and find out if she's doing the spotlight, find out when she's leaving, because I had already had tonight booked.
Right.
So
okay.
tonight was already booked for the interim leader of the Dominica Freedom Party.
Oh, right. He
Yes.
was on the radio today.
He
Yeah,
was,
right.
indeed.
Yeah.
So and the rest of the month is booked except
Right.
for the last Monday in the month.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so I said to him, listen, this is what I need to do. You know, I was working with a close friend on getting him on the program. I messaged the friend and I said, I really need to do this. Once she agrees, I need to go.
That's actually pretty humbling that
Yes.
you were able to put somebody out of this.
Don't worry, he'll be fine. He'll be back in the spotlight on the 29th.
I'm pretty sure he's always in the spotlight.
Yes. So again, thank you. I really appreciate you. Let me allow you to say good evening to whomever you wish to do so.
Oh boy!
Let me tell you, so many
You putting me on the spotlight.
Where you can just say everybody.
Right. Too numerous to mention, like they say all the time. Obviously, I would like to say thank you to my NYPD family, always supporting me. Basically, that's why I'm here, right?
Yes.
Lieutenant. So I want to say thank you to them. Obviously, thank you to my family, my blood family. My grandmother is really why I'm here. She's 90 years old, so I basically came here to visit her. So I want to obviously shout out my grandmother, Philomena Francis, in the village of Sufria, as well as everyone, Stani Zabie, Momo, who's taking care of her, and all my family in Dominica, the Seaman family, the Francis family, and all my friends. And all my friends in the States, I know you're familiar with some of them. I know you're familiar with some of them from Talk the Ting show, because I know you were a guest. So, that's the Jersey, New York crew, Dwayne and Rajiv and Hadley and all of them, Brad, Roxanne, so Crystal, Kezia, they're all listening. They're a big support system of mine, Carol. So I want to say hello to all of them, and obviously everyone that showed me love on Facebook, Instagram. I got a lot of WhatsApp messages. It was pretty humbling. So
I got a lot, much less for you.
Right, that's what I mean. I to my boyfriend who's watching as well, and everyone, my family, my aunts, my sister, my cousin Leanne, everyone. There's so many people that support me. Like I said in my video, my support system is my family. So my family, my friends, and the NYPD, and everyone else in Dominica, all the Dominicans all over the world that I know are listening. And I'm going to share the live, and it's really humbling, and I always, obviously God, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't God, so.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can go on all night, so.
We might just go on all night. We might just go on all night. So Rennae, before we start the program, there's something I want to do and get out of the way.
Okay.
Okay? All right, first of all, you got a ride here.
Yes, I did. It was a smooth ride.
And that is actually a colleague of mine who works at Flow.
Right.
And his business is Prime Wagon. And I really want to thank him. Prime Wagon actually offers a first-class limousine service in Dominica, which specializes in premium luxury passenger mobility. Prime Wagon caters to anyone looking for that VIP experience while traveling.
Yes.
Yeah, just a little delay this evening.
But it was definitely VIP. He had fruit, he had wine. It literally felt like a limousine. I was like, this is kind of too much for me. But yeah, he was very courteous, and we got here safely, because the ride from Sufria to Rosewood can be a little daunting at night, but he got me here pretty quickly.
All right, good stuff. Now, we did a little fun poll thing on Facebook,
yeah.
right?
The Dominican snacks.
Yes. And we're going to get that out of the way. So you gave how many options?
I gave 4.
4 options. What were they again?
One was coconut tart, another one was cheese straw, another one was gooseberry on the stick, and the other one was coconut cheese.
And which was the correct answer?
Coconut tart. That's like, oh my God, no you didn't!
I didn't, I'll tell you did.
Oh my gosh!
This is number 1 for you.
Oh, no you didn't.
Show it.
No, you did not.
So this right here, Rennae, that's from 2 of my closest colleagues at the office.
Oh my goodness.
They actually went out, did this, packaged it for you, right?
You're gonna make me cry.
Listen, they made me cry. I teared up when they did it today, and that's Kendra and Danielle.
Oh, Kendra and Danielle, you don't understand how much this means to me.
I want to tell you that they just offered right away and said they were going to do this. And it includes an assortment of tarts,
Including my favorite.
Coconut tarts. There's
Wow.
coconut cheese in there, the
Yeah,
regular,
I noticed, yeah.
and the rum raisin version.
Wow.
There's assorted coconut tablets. There's logar. There's gooseberry.
Oh
There's
my
the
God.
peppermint thingy.
The peppermint thing from when I was a kid.
Oh my god.
Oh, you know, this is like,
I've just started actually.
oh my God. I don't know, you might have to call the ambulance for
Right.
that because this is a
So,
lot.
So I hope your suitcase still has some space in
This
it
is,
for
you
some
don't
things,
understand.
right?
Like, I literally was going to town tomorrow to see if I guess there's a new France. To see if I could get some tarts or something because my obsession is real with that. So
Okay.
thank you so much for this. This
You're
is
welcome.
amazing.
So this
You
is
have
number
more?
2 from Tony Sponge.
Oh, I love Tony Sponge.
Marcusson, we have Marcusson, we have coconut, and we
Oh
have
my
peanuts.
gosh.
And I have to big up my partner. I've just started. So Tony Sponge is the best on the island with a number of flavors, including cocktail, peanut, raisin, Marcusson, lime, passion fruit
Wow.
coffee, and my favorite coconut. They are available in 250 and 750 milliliters and available at retail outlets across the island and at his retail location on 25 Fields Lane.
Oh my
So this right here is for you, Rennae. I hope you might
I'm so
bring
excited.
something before you leave.
Oh, definitely.
Just take it and you can show your viewers.
Oh man.
Yes.
I love like peanut punch, all of the great punches. Lime.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yes.
This is insane. This is Ferdina, you're killing me.
I know, I intended to.
Wow.
Not this one.
Coconut.
I hope you didn't walk with your gun.
No. That's in New York. I have zero jurisdiction here.
Okay.
Thank you so much to Tony's Peanut Punch and
Yes.
Tony's Punch.
And I called him and I just told him and he just sent me 3
Wow.
bottles and they're all for you.
Oh man,
This
I gotta meet him.
This is
There's more?
There's more. This is a regular
Right.
from Josephine Gabriel and Company.
Oh wow.
This is their barefoot wine.
Oh.
And this is for you as well. So make
Oh,
sure you
thank
show
you.
the audience. And barefoot fruit starter is what it's called.
Wow.
And these delicious sweet blends are made with wine and natural flavors, burst with aroma of juicy, refreshing watermelon, crisp, juicy apples, sun-kissed strawberries, and perfectly ripe peaches.
Wow.
So thank you, Josephine Gabriel.
Thank
and
you,
Company,
Josephine
for this.
Gabriel.
They also provide our water, Twapito water
Oh,
as
yes.
well
Support
for the
local.
show. Yes.
Absolutely.
I forgot something that comes
More
with this.
again?
Yes, there's more. This is from the Dominica Festivals Committee. I have great friends.
I can see
And all I
it.
do is send a message or make a phone call
Oh,
and I get what
wow.
I
You
need. So
hooked up.
this is a small token from the Dominica Festivals Commission.
Okay, thank you.
For this is some of their World Creole Music Paraphernalia.
Oh wow.
And there's
okay.
an umbrella. So I forgot the
Oh.
umbrella in the car. So
Do you know how much scattered showers I've encountered in Dominica?
when you
Oh
get
my
your umbrella,
goodness.
you'll get your
Ooh,
umbrella.
this is
in
so
the car.
nice.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So this is for
Oh, I'm
you.
excited.
And just to say that, of course, the Dominica Festivals Committee is an arm of the Discover Dominica Authority responsible for planning and execution of carnivals and festivals in Dominica.
And you know I come to Carnival every year, so
Is that
very good carnival.
headed by Marva Williams?
Yes.
There's
Awesome.
more.
More again?
Yes.
I should have bring a big bag, man.
Yes, you should have. So this is a mask
From Dominica mask.
Yes.
Oh my God, thank
This
you.
is from Sakla.
Oh
I really
wow.
want to thank Sakla. Let me just see if I can get to my phone to give her a little credit.
Alright.
I know we're taking some time doing that, folks, but I really wanted to. I know she comes to Dominica every single year, but I really just wanted to give her this really beautiful Dominica feeling,
this is
you
great.
know, today, and
I love
that's why I
this.
did all of that. So let me see. So Sakla produces designer clothing and accessories. Services include customized, personalized T-shirts, mugs, bags, and other gift items. Sakla is located at the ferry terminal on the bayfront. You may also shop online at www.saklacollection.com.
Awesome. This is great.
All right.
Thank you so much.
There is a friend of
More
mine.
again?
His name is Elias Dupie. He
Uh-huh.
has this line of cocoa sticks.
Oh.
Awesome cocoa.
See, now I don't have to go shop because I'm literally going to try to buy this tomorrow.
So
Wow.
this is for you, and then you
Nice.
just see what I have there for awesome cocoa. You deserve a bit of awesomeness in your day, so be awesome today. Start your day with awesome cocoa. Call 767-612-1365 to order. So that's awesome cocoa. And there's in there, I've had it, it's really good. There's in there, but I don't play no game. No, I really wanted to do this for her. I really wanted her to have a memorable experience when she comes on the program.
I'll never forget this, that's for sure.
Yes.
Wow.
You are natural, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to.
No, don't. I'm pretty. Oh no, because I was literally. Don't tell me. Oh my! I was literally on her page today. Wow! Thank you so much. I was gonna go to see if I could find it in one of the shops.
Well, you don't have to go to find anything apparently.
I actually heard about this in the States, you know, by a lot of Actually, Brad's sister told me about it because she has natural hair as well.
Yes.
They touch, and she was like, "Oh, their products is really good." I was like, "Well, I have to go down."
Well, there you go.
Oh my God!
So let me
thank
just
you.
give her a little big up. JD's Naturals develops a range of products for the hair and skin that are all natural. JD's launched their hypoallergenic baby and kids line at Baby World over the weekend.
I saw that.
Yes. And are now available online at www.natureeyeproductsllc.com and www.bydominica.com. And just a little note there on Jody. Jody will be graduating from an accredited UK institution with an advanced diploma in organic hair and skin formulation.
And what I like about this was that it literally is 100% organic. So that's a huge deal when you deal with natural hair, because when you put too much chemicals, like it alters your curl pattern. So.
Oh, there you go.
Listen, you learn a lot when you start doing your own hair and there's no more curl, you know. So thank you so much, Jody. I was actually following you like a stalker. So.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
The final thing I have for you is from DCP Successors Limited.
Oh,
and
wow.
there's a range of their soaps in there
that
you can
thank
get
you.
to use.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and let me just give them their
Sure,
piece
absolutely.
So Real and Ready bath soaps, compliments of DCP Successors, available island-wide. The soaps are manufactured locally and can stand up in quality with any international brand.
Ooh, thank you so much.
All right.
Wow. I thought I was going to keep going. Got anything else? No, thank you so much. This is so much.
I know.
Ferdina, you're like...
I'm like, oh my goodness, her suitcase, I hope she has space.
Oh, I have space, trust me.
If she doesn't really drink all of that before she leaves.
I'll definitely be packing everything.
You'll be packing everything.
And rationing it, because, you know, I have to wait another few months before I come back. So thank you for everyone who gave me stuff. I mean, I don't know. I can't even appreciate you enough. So I really want to thank you very much.
You're most
From the bottom of my heart. When you come to New York, just look for me, and I'll see if I can, you know, return the favor.
I got this done in less than half an hour.
That's crazy.
In less than half an hour, I made some calls and
well, you know, you're the big dog, so you can do those things.
Congratulations, and you know, I'm really happy to have been able to do that, and to all the people.
Absolutely.
I forgot one thing. How could I?
Oh my
goodness! So. Don't kill me, Emil. How could I? You know why? Because I didn't have the physical thing.
Oh, okay.
So, We Forward is giving you $100 gift voucher to ship either from New York to Dominica or Dominica to New York. How could
I know what We Forward. Yeah, actually, my friend Lyle was telling me about them the other day.
So you can use them.
Yeah, he was saying he used them and he had a good experience.
Yes.
So there you go. You see, I'm telling
you. So online shopping, shipping, consolidating, packing. Check out We Forward, your shipping solution. Ask us about our export from Dominica worldwide. You shop We Forward. And Deepex is also giving you $100 gift voucher to purchase anything that you want.
Oh my God,
Deepex.
you know I used to go to Deepex when I was a kid.
To take your photo?
Yeah, like the ping pong photos and all that. And when we used to have to make shirts, it was always Deepex Color Lab.
Oh my goodness.
It's just amazing that they can run that business for this long and be successful. So big up to Deepex and thank you so much.
Right. So you have trusted us printing your memories for years. Let us help you with your marketing and printing solutions to keep your business alive. Deepex, your one-stop shop for all your printing needs. That's it this time. Thank you again to all of these persons who, with just a telephone call or WhatsApp message, said no problem for Ferdina. I remember Tony telling me, you don't even need to give me an explanation. Why are you explaining to me? Just tell me what you need, you know. So thank you, everyone.
Yes,
this is greatly appreciated, and you can tell that the guest is
I'm gonna put this on Instagram. Like I mean, this is
Yeah.
I cannot even have imagined this was gonna happen. Thank
No,
you
I know.
very much.
I know. I did. What did I tell you?
You did say that, you know, but I didn't know what you had up your sleeves. So
I always have.
yes, I know. I have to come back here again, but now I'm excited. Round 2.
Okay, guys, we're gonna take a quick break so we can have a sip of water and then we can get going with the program. Keep it locked right here. This is the In the Spotlight Radio Show. Remember to follow me on any of my pages. We have Ferdina Frampton, Ferdina Frampton. We have the Triple F Marketing and Advertising, and we have the In the Spotlight Radio Show. We have the group. Become a fan of the group. You know, just support the vibe all together. We're coming right back. And if I had made more calls, I would get more.
Oh man, thank you. This is you. First of all, you blew my mind with the tax. Like with everything in there, you blew my mind. That was.
Imagine,
I was gonna cry when you gave me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane.
Imagine, and I told that to my colleagues today while we were on a break. We know Facebook can hear us.
Yeah.
I said to my colleagues today, you know what? Even if I don't give her anything else, that basket alone is gonna do it for
Yeah,
her.
that's it.
And
You could have just given me just water. I would have been fine with that. But the basket. I know it's crazy with the Jody products. I was literally looking at her. Because I know they had the baby event sometime ago.
Saturday.
Yeah, because Lyle actually did the photos for that
Okay.
Secretly Dominican, and we were talking about it. But Lucian Gatouche, like I said, Brad's sister, was telling me about her products, and I was gonna, and I saw she also shared my video. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get this. I was gonna just try it at Jolly's.
Yeah, she was actually gonna give me one more item for you, but she said she was out of.
She was sold out.
had
Yeah, like
one
her products
little
are
bit.
like in
Yes.
high demand. So
Yes.
I mean, you blew my mind. I mean, the punch, everything, the cocoa sticks, like, oh, thank you very much to everyone. So. And the wine.
Oh gosh. Okay, guys, we are all set to go with the In the Spotlight Radio Show, and I'm happy that I could put this really beautiful smile on the face of Lieutenant Francis Rennae tonight on the program. So we're gonna get going. So Rennae, first of all, you mentioned briefly what brought you to Dominica before we get into anything else. Why are you here?
So, my mom passed away 6 years ago. Most people know her as Dr. Seaman or like Helen. And she was a big instrument in my life. But I was really young when she passed away. I was 26. So, my grandmother at the time was being taken care of by my mom. So, when my mom passed away, you know, we kind of struggled to figure out how the situation was going to be with my grandma. So, and you know, it kind of put things into perspective, what's important in life. And you always know family is important, but now more than ever, I'm trying to take, you know, as much opportunity as I can when I can to go visit her. So she used to be with my aunt in Trinidad and my other aunt in Belize, but now she's in Dominica, like I said, with Stanley and Momo. So I said, you know what, I have to go see her. I love spending time with my grandmother. She's a riot. She's really funny. Plus, she you know, she adopted me when I was pretty young and helped, you know, basically develop me into the person I am today. So I was like, you know what? I know I have to quarantine. Everyone has to quarantine, but that's something so small to do for my grandmother, who's basically raised me. So I did my quarantine. I'm here and I'm just spending as much time as I can with her. Here and there, when I know she kind of takes her daily naps, I'll say, you know, I'll go down by the bay. Or like I'll message someone and say, hey, is there something we can go see and just kind of relax a little bit and come back. So yeah, it's basically about family right now. And I know people are going to be like, oh, you came and I didn't get to see you. And I'm like, I know it's not because I don't want to hang out with you, but I'm always thinking like, all right, this half of my day is going to be here, but I have to go back to my grandmother because at the end of the day, that was the purpose of the trip. So that's why I'm here. And I mean, I come every year for carnival. And we know because of COVID, there's no carnival this year. By the way, I'm negative. I've tested 100 times. Because there was no carnival, I was like, you know, it doesn't have to have carnival for me to visit my grandmother. So I came anyway. So yeah.
You mentioned your mom.
Oh yes.
You know, who passed away about 5 or 6 years ago. I've heard about her, but I didn't really know her. So tell us a bit about who this lady was.
I mean, I actually have a tattoo of her on my arm.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. This was my first tattoo. This was a picture taken of her when she was like in her 20s, young 20s. And I really like the picture because it's in black and white and with her afro, you know what I'm saying, Black Lives Matter. But anyway, So my mom was a very interesting woman. She had a passion for education, and instilled that in my sister and I and my cousins pretty young. So her biggest thing was you know, your brain is a muscle and you have to exercise it. So she felt like the best exercise was through education. So most people know her for teaching in Convent High School. She taught in Convent High School very young. She also taught at the Civil Hall. Remember, it wasn't always State College. She taught at Civil Hall, and then she became the registrar at Dominica State College. So she also studied at UE, and she'd always instill in us, like I said, the importance of education and pushing yourself forward, and education could take you far. So she was an incredible woman. She was my hero. And I'm like, you know, sometimes you see me on Instagram, or maybe you see me on WhatsApp, or whatever the case is, but like I describe myself as eccentric. That's why my Instagram name is Rencentric, because I know I can basically have multiple personalities, but it's not a disorder. So like I always felt like my mom was the only person that really kind of understood me and never really judged me, and always kind of pushed me forward. So she was a big role model in my life, my hero. So when she passed away, it was like, you know, Dominicans are known for living a long time. So no one expected you to lose your mom at 51. We kind of expect people to at least make it to 80, 90. Yeah. So that way they can be there for all the milestones in your life. So when it happened, it was pretty much a shock to us and to her. Yeah, she got diagnosed. So she was here and she was complaining of some abdominal pain. And then I told her, listen, my aunt was in Trinidad at the time. So I said, listen, you go fly to Trinidad and we'll meet you there. We ran some tests, and then they said she had cancer, which was so foreign to us because no one in our family ever died from cancer. So it was something that was like, what? An unknown disease to us. And so she flew. At the time, she had a visitor's visa because she would come visit me and my sister pretty frequently, as much as she could. And she got treatment there. I would say, if you want to call it treatment. And in 6 months, she went from the person I knew my whole life to like kind of dissolved very quickly. Very painful. And then she passed away, and we ended up cremating her and burying her ashes with my grandfather in Suffolk Cemetery. But it was a really, really shocking time, hard time for our family, because she was kind of like how we describe her, as like she was like the nucleus. Mm-hmm. So like she was literally the head of like the whole cell of the family. So like when she died, everyone was like, well, what do we do? And like we made a WhatsApp group chat. Like it's funny, we never even thought of these things because, you know, we just always, I think it's not taking it for granted, but you always think in the back of your head you have time. And that's why now I like kind of live my life on this thing, like nothing is promised. And I know we say it, but I'm telling you guys, you tell yourself, oh yeah, I'll have all the time in the world, and you don't. Especially we see that with the pandemic, right? That hit us hard, and people were like, oh my gosh, she was just 20. Oh my god, he was just 80. Like, yeah, you know, things happen, and we can't take that lightly. So that's why that's who she was, and the role she played in my life. And obviously it's a big deal. It was my only tattoo at the time. Yes. So and I think everything that I do, I keep her in the back of my mind. I try to at least, you know, 26 is how old I was when she passed. So in my head I'm like, well, I don't have that many pictures. I also don't have that many videos. So I'm always trying to remember her voice, so that way I don't forget it. Because, you know, it'll be hard. They'll be like, oh, how does she sound again? So I always say, what would Helen say? I'd never call her Helen to her face, by the way. I only say that now as like a joke. But yeah, so I don't know. I can only say great things about my mother, because that's, obviously we're all going to be biased to our parents, which we should be. That should be the person that's, you know, played an instrumental role in your life. So yeah, I am biased, but also everyone has always would come up to me and tell me how much they loved my mom and how much, you know, she was an influence in their life. So I know she didn't just touch me. Her whole purpose was always giving back. So she always used to say that. She was like, if you're not helping nobody in the world, then you're not living for the purpose that God put you here. So
what do you miss most about her?
I would say her ability to calm me down, because like I told you, like I used to, you know, I was raised in a family where it's like you have to do good. So anytime I felt like I wasn't living up to this random standard, I would freak out. So I remember, you know, not to circumvent it and bring it to policing right now, but I remember trying to study for the sergeant exam. And I remember she was visiting me in the summer, and she was on my couch in my apartment, and I was studying, and I would try to answer a question and I would get it wrong. And in my head, if I'm getting it wrong now, I'm gonna get it wrong on the exam, and I'm gonna fail, and I'm gonna be a failure.
Oh my.
Yeah, I know, I'm like ridiculous. At the time, I didn't think so, right? And then she would be like, Rennae, you do this all the time. You did this for common entrance. you did for 60. You did it in college. Like, you're going to pass. And I'm like, no, mommy, it's a different exam. You don't understand. She was like, you always say this, you don't understand. And obviously she was right because I scored pretty high on it. But, you know, I look back and like, she was the person that could just send to me and be like, you being a little extra. Yeah. Relax. Like, God has you and you'll be happy. So that's what I miss about her ability to just kind of calm me down. I don't think other people were able to like she could. So. Plus, you listen to your mother, right? What they tell you, listen to your parents. Yes. So I'll just listen to her, like, yeah, this lady's smarter than me, so she has to know something I don't, so yeah.
Father figure?
Oh, yeah, I get asked that question a lot. So, my dad was married to my mom in 85. I wasn't born until 88. From what I remember, he played cricket and he was around, but I guess the marriage didn't work out and they split up, and my mom had sole custody of me and my sister along with my aunt. So he kind of departed from our lives pretty young. But he's in Dominica. Hopefully if he's listening, he's proud, I guess. I have no ill will against him. I've tried to reach out a couple of times, but sometimes I think people, you know, have their own path in life. So he's on his path, I'm on mine, but I would say the father figure that I had mostly was my grandfather, who passed away when I was really young. And then, you know, I had, you know, Stanley's the same person who was helping take care of my grandmother. When I moved to New York, he was in New York, so he kind of helped me figure out certain things in life. He moved back to Dominica when I was, you know, we weren't really in the same space for too long, but he was also one of the men in my life, and, you know. But yeah, I was pretty much more in like a female household, you know, women-inspired women. So yeah, I didn't really necessarily have like that major father figure in my life, but I did pretty well with that. I had a bunch of uncles on my dad's side who were also very good. Big up, you know, my seaman uncles and stuff. So
you speak of your female, the women in your life.
Yes.
Diane Francis,
yes.
Dominica is what to you?
Diane Francis is my aunt, my mom's sister. So it's my mom and then Diane, so she's the second one, and then Auntie Marlin, who's the third, and then Auntie Erin, who's the fourth. Auntie Marlin left Dominica pretty young, so most people know Erin and Diane because Auntie Diane went up for Queen and stayed there a little bit. Auntie Erin was here for a little bit, working in different capacities in Dominica. So yeah, I was just surrounded by these women who were doing incredible things, and I was just like, okay, well, I have to do incredible things because I can't be the only one. So my aunt and, you know, they always pursued their studies, and they were working pretty hard to make sure they could always provide for us, which wasn't their responsibility because at the end of the day I was just their niece. But they were like all played like a mother role. Till today, I'm sure they're listening, and I know they're like, oh, what's she talking about that? But you know, Dominicans take for granted that a village raises a child. So I think sometimes we need to stop and really give thanks to people who really did a lot for us. So yeah, my aunt stuff. Those are the sisters to my mom. Yeah.
Let's talk about life growing up in the village of Suffolk.
Yeah.
What was that?
Man. So Supriya at the time, there were a lot of elders. They're long passed away now. Rest in peace to them. And I just remember them always keeping me in check because they knew Philomena Francis, that's my grandmother, was taking care of me because my mom was studying in UWI at the time. So when my grandmother and my aunt played an instrumental role while my mom was in UWI getting her PhD and stuff. But the people in the village was always, if they saw me, they would always make sure I was, you know, on the right path, doing the right thing, and help me. And I grew up in a strict Catholic home, so Sunday was church, Saturday was practice and all this. So the church community embraced me, and I was an altar server there for many years. So I know the priests in Dominica, they were having a retreat. You know, Father Later probably spoke about that because he was there at Jungle Bay, and like all of the priests, I kind of knew them because when you're in the Catholic Church a lot, the priests kind of rotate. So I knew a lot of them. Father Lafleur, Monsignor John Lewis, a bunch of them. Father Coffee. So the church played a huge role in my life. I wouldn't necessarily say I was super like Christian, but I definitely understood the power of God in your life and making sure you know you have a moral compass and you better use it to navigate life, treat people correctly, and God will always bless you. So growing up in Sophia is great. And I mean, I don't have a bad memory of Sophia. I just have people always, you know, lying in, having a good time by the bay, and like, I remember jumping in. We had a huge jetty in Sophia. I used to jump off the jetty all the time. I remember Shadow got in my foot, and it was just great. Like Scott said, it was great. I always remember them fishing and stuff. That's when I really learned how like people fish. Like there's a lot of things we take for granted in a small island, but when you go to America, you don't see people fish. You have to go to a fish market and you just see fish there.
And you buy fish.
And you buy fish and they clean it for you.
Yes.
You know, in Dominica, like you get your fish, you have to clean your fish yourself, and like. But that's what I remember. I remember everybody being fair to each other. I never saw violence. I mean, maybe I had a different child than other people, but Sophia was a really welcoming village. And you know, they're close to Lockwood, so the people in Lockwood was also really nice. But Sophia was it. Remember the sulfur springs. Just I don't know. Always great memories. So.
And in terms of your education, how and when did that start in Sophia?
Well, I would say most of my education in Sophia is more of like social education, and more of my academic education was coming from like creche. I'm pretty sure they still have creche, right? Where the kids wear the green little outfits. Creche is right by SMA.
I'm not sure.
So that's why I started as like a toddler. My mother dropped me there, and Val used to take care of me. I don't think she's at creche anymore. I'm not sure, and then I went to convent prep. Had fun memories of convent prep. It was co-ed and it was fun, and I had a lot of good friends, and the teachers, they were instrumental. They always made sure. What I liked about it was a good mix of discipline and education, and they continued that in convent high school. So I wouldn't necessarily say I was like the most disciplined student, but they made sure that I wasn't going to be playing around, and you know, I think that helped me in CXC. You know, I didn't get no 9 1s or nothing, but I definitely, you know, I got 6 1s, and that was more than enough for me. I was like, that's more than enough for me.
When you said I didn't get 9 1s or nothing, I'm thinking that she didn't get any 1s because she was just average.
Oh,
that's not average.
You know, in Common High School at the time, I was surrounded by a lot of incredible students. Even in Dominica Grammar School too, I remember Zev had gotten like 9 1. Like people were just collecting ones. I was like, oh, am I like underachieving here?
Not at all.
Yeah, so you know, that's what I remember. I remember being surrounded by people who were doing really well. So I had to step up or get out. And that's what I remember in Common High School. Mali would always be like, you have to get good grades. Like you didn't come here for a party. You came here to learn. So that really gave me a very good base for when I went to State College and did science there. Because I already, you know, the teachers in Common High School would make sure that I really focus on my studies, because they said that's how you basically navigate life correctly. And they knew I wanted to move forward and go to college at some point, either UE or wherever. So you have to, if you don't have a good high school education, it will be very difficult for you to navigate or even enter college. So Common High School is very, very instrumental in my life. And then State College, I did a year there, and then I decided to go to the States.
You decided to go to the States. The decision to go to the States came how?
Oh, so the thing about it is I wasn't sure what I wanted to study. I know that in the Caribbean there's like a pressure of science, engineering, accounting, law, and stuff like that. So I knew I was gonna have to stick with one of those. Because I remember telling my mom I wanted to do photography, and she was like,
she laughed in your face.
Yeah, she was like, photography is a hobby, and I was like, no, people like make good money doing photography. She's like, no, I'll buy you a camera and you can do that on the side.
Yes.
You need to go to school. So I was like, oh,
okay.
All right. You know, like in America, they get to like be whatever they want to be. Like, no, sorry. You could be whatever you want to be and pay for it on your own. But if somebody is funding your education, you're going to have to do something they feel like will put you in a place to get employment. You know, so I knew I wanted to do science. Plus, I was pretty good at science, but good in my opinion. And I did pretty well, so I was like, all right, I don't mind doing something in science, but I wasn't sure what exactly. And I remember back home, my mom would always watch these like investigative shows, and we'd watch Law and Order all the time. And she was like, oh, you know, every time like there's like a case, they always talk about these forensics things, like you should do that. And I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. So we started doing. Computers were still kind of developing, so we had like those big computers and the dial-up internet. So we'd like do research, and we saw John Jay and stuff, and they had like the program, and they were instrumental in the field of forensic science because That's where all the godfathers of forensic science started, where they developed the ideas of criminalistics or DNA and stuff. So I was like, well, I might as well go to the school where the people who started it, go. So we looked and we saw the requirements to get into the college. And my grandmother, when I told my grandmother adopted me, she had a green card for her brother who's from St. Croix.
Oh, you mean she actually adopted you?
Legally. Yeah. Oh, you thought it was like in jest? No, legally. So, right, legally she adopted us because, I guess my mother in her infinite wisdom knew at some point we had to go somewhere to study, and if my grandmother had a green card, like this would be, plus she, like I said, my mother was in UE a lot, so it made sense that legally she was the person on paper. So even if she's legally my mom and legally my grandmom. So I had the opportunity to have a green card. So she was like, well, you have the green card, so it don't make sense to go to UE.
So you had the green card already by the time?
As a kid, but I didn't really know. I remember flying to Barbados. Doing paperwork. But like I was a teen, so I didn't really, when your mother take you somewhere, you just go. And I remember sitting in an interview with some lady in Barbados. Now I know it's the embassy.
Yeah.
You don't know those things when you're a kid. You're like, oh, okay.
So that didn't really mean anything to you at the time?
No, because I never thought about going to the States. Because we would go to St. Croix because my grandmother's brother's there, who just passed away like 3 days ago. He's 98.
Oh,
yeah, rest in peace thing. That's her last living sibling. But we would go visit Uncle Willis a lot because, that's her brother. But I never thought I would go to St. Croix or St. Thomas. I just thought I would do what my mom did or my aunts did, go to University of the West Indies, get a degree. So when she started asking me, I was like, oh yeah, we'll definitely look into that. And she was like, well, you could go to the States because you have the green card. And she had to explain to me what this whole green card thing was. Like, I knew about the card, I didn't know, like, what I was supposed to do with this. I was a child. Like, I needed a guardian when I even went to the States. So that's how the States thing started, and I went to John Jay. So she came with me for the first week, and my mother wasn't in the States a lot, so it was like 2 West Indian people trying to navigate New York. That's a mess. Like, it was a mess. Like, we were on the train getting lost. People had to tell us, like, get out of the way, because New Yorkers walk really fast.
Yes.
Yeah, we had to figure out a metro card. We didn't know none of it. So it was really fun with her.
Oh, my.
But yeah, that's how the whole New York and John Jay College thing started, was the forensic science, and then the green card was through my grandmother, who adopted me and my sister. So that's how that started.
In terms of funding for school at the time, I know it would either be going to the bank, or did grandma have some stash somewhere?
No, grandma. So the thing about it, my grandmother grew up very poor, right? And her husband, Hobson Francis, my grandfather, they had to work a lot just for what they had. So that's what my auntie, I don't know if how many people know this, but my auntie Dan, who won the Queen show, didn't just go up for Queen show to kill time. She went up there so that she could get the scholarship option to study. And when my mom went to UE, she initially took out a loan for her bachelor's. And it's funny, today I was just looking for some papers in the old house, and I saw like all of the scholarships she got. I was like, she never once mentioned this stuff to me, by the way. I guess people I guess people don't think it's a topic of discussion, especially if you have like a young kid. So she got most of her just like my aunt Erin got her studies funded through scholarships at Cambridge University. So we never really had like a stockpile of money where they could say, oh, go America, we'll fund it. So my mom, I remember her telling me she only had enough money for 1 semester. So 1 semester at John Jay at the time for international student was 5,000 US. 5,000 US to us is a lot of money. So I remember my mother say, listen, go up there. I have money for 1 semester, do a semester, and then see how it works out. Because not every time you go to a school you like it anyway. So it don't make sense go take out a big loan and next thing you want to leave the school or whatever. So I tell you, God was very, very, very huge. So I did the semester at John Jay, like many CUNY schools. They have opportunities for you to get scholarships, but you have to really like look for it. There's not somebody in the hallway telling you, hey, do this, apply for this. So I started looking, and I was like, well, my mom told me she only has a semester for money. I got to figure this out, because am I leaving or what am I doing after? I know I have a green card so I could work, and I was working 2 jobs already, but I had to work 2 jobs to pay like rent. Because rent in New York is super expensive.
So you were on your own?
So my first year, I went to the Bronx, and I was staying with a family friend, Stanley initially, but Stanley ended up moving back to Dominica. So that was a little rough because I was still working and trying to go to school, and then I had to end up moving to Brooklyn. and getting an apartment. It wasn't even an apartment now. So what they do in States is when you don't have money, they rent out rooms. I mean, you don't have money. You don't have money for a whole apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So I was renting a room in somebody's house, which was horrible because there was no heat. And when you like don't know anybody, you don't know your rights and all this. It was looking back now, I'm like, oh, that was not a good place to be living. But so I didn't have a lot of money, and the money I was making wasn't gonna pay for school. So luckily, I qualified just from my one semester. I really tried to push myself to do well, and I did well. And from that semester on, I was getting scholarships, so I didn't have to take out like loans and stuff. So that was a blessing.
But I'll tell you though, Rennae, you have to be given credit for simply accepting to take this giant step, even with one funding for one semester, and figure out that the rest will figure out itself some way, somehow. Somebody like me probably might say, you know, I need to at least have a year up front before I can make that step. You understand? But you did that, not even really knowing what it is that you were going into.
Yeah, because you know, in my head, I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? I do one semester, and then if I don't like it, like Dominica, I can always, like, this is my birth country. I can always come back here. I can always tell my mother, listen, it's not working out. I'll come to Dominica, work, then go to UE. Like, I have no shame in. It's not like people say, oh, you wanted to go to America, you didn't want to support the Caribbean system. I was like, that was my plan from the beginning, was to go UE, just like all my family did it, and they were successful. So I have no shame in going to UE. My mother loved UE. She would always talk about UE. You know, Cave Hill, you know, that type of thing. But I just figured, if I don't like it, come back, finish up college in Dominica, and then get a job. So I didn't feel like it was do or die. I just felt like, let me do as much as I can with the opportunity I was given, and then see where it goes. So it reminds me of the parable in the Bible where it says, like, God gave one person one talent and they buried it, but the guy with all the talents, like, so that's how I looked at it. I was like, well, you're giving me a semester, so I'll do a semester. I will try to do as much as I can in the little time you gave me. And I think, you know, John Jay recognized that. And I was also big on student life. I teach at John Jay now too. I'm an adjunct. Been doing it for a few years. I would say like at least a decade. And I always tell students, don't get caught up in just studying, right? Like, you need a break. And one of the healthiest breaks you can take is being on campus. Because when you go off campus, now you're going to get into some trouble, because there's some characters in New York you don't want to involve yourself in. So I would be involved in student life. And you pay, when you get that bill, I don't know about people who, when you go to college, you just pay it and not look. I look at that bill because I knew my mother spent $5,000 US for me to be here. I want to know what I'm paying $5,000 US for. And one of the fees is student activity fee. So I was like, student activity fee, what is that? And it was like 100 US. So I was like, oh, 100 US is $278. I need to know what I'm paying for $278. And they were like, oh, there's stuff on campus for students. So I was always on campus getting free food. Yeah, getting free food, going to campus had activities where you could go see a Broadway play for free. They sent me to Australia. No, not Australia, Austria, because I went to Australia later on. They sent me to Austria on a conference for 2 weeks, all expense paid. That was my first time going to Europe. Like, all this student activity fee. I did Model UN, like, I was doing everything. That was $100. Trust me, I got more than $100 worth of my student activity fee. So because they knew me, people would tell me, hey, apply for this, apply for that. And I just kept applying. I had to keep applying, right? Because one scholarship would be for 2 semesters. Another scholarship would be for 1 semester. So I just kept. And a lot of people don't apply. So it wasn't like I was the smartest person on campus getting, you know, I mean, I had a very high GPA, but it wasn't like I was the only one. But it was just, I was just grabbing the money where I could. Because it was just money on the table. You had to look, yeah. And because at the end of the day, you always want better for yourself.
Of course.
So you want to, and sad to say, money plays a role in that. So I was like, all right, well, I'm working, but that's not going to be enough.
So did you always get scholarships? Most times, 80% of the time.
So for the rest of my semester for undergrad was paid by John Jay, and then from scholarships, different scholarships, and then my graduate degree. I was a cop when I went to graduate school, and I only had. So this is a funny story. I had a partner, he's an Asian kid, and we were both like 20, 21, 22. And I was telling him, I want to go back to grad school because my mother always told me, like, no, a bachelor's degree, no, is like a high school diploma. So she was like, go to grad school. I was like, oh, just go to grad school. Like, I already had to apply, like, every year at John Jay to get money. Like, this is not free. Like, but I did really well, and John Jay gave me a lot of opportunities. They actually made me an adjunct professor while I was in grad school, which is kind of like unheard of, which was very good because they knew, the struggles. And my friend, my old partner, he had money. He lived at home, and he would invest a lot in stocks because he had money. And I was like, hey, you have money. I don't have money. Let's make a deal. Because I didn't want to take a loan because at the time the rates were high for me, which was the rate was like 5%, and I was like, 5% on a $3,000 loan just for 2 semesters is a lot. So I told my friend with money, I told him, listen, give me $3,000.
Give or loan?
Well, loan. Well, there was going to be exchange. I said, you give me $3,000, I give it back $3,000, no interest, but you'll be helping me out. Yeah. So, and he was like, all right. Because he knew it was for grad school, and he was, like the NYPD, even if you're just a cop, like cops kind of help each other when they know you're doing positive things. So they're like, all right, it's for grad school. I was like, you could come to grad school with me, you have a lot of money. And he was like, no. I was like, all right, well, help me, help you, because if I'm smart, I can make you smart.
That's right.
And he was like, I'm already smart because I have more money than you. I was like, you're right.
Point
there. And, he's still a cop, by the way, doing his work. But so he gave me $3,000, and I paid him back after that semester. And then the other last two semesters, I got a scholarship.
Wow.
Yeah. John Jay, like I said, I love that school. I would say that I figure things out and try to use everything that I can to get to the destination that I need to get to.
Right.
So I work smarter, not harder. But I wouldn't necessarily say academically I'm like getting 9.1s.
Like you're this brilliant person.
Yeah, I didn't get 9.1s in CXC, so But I have enough like sense, like to say,
common
okay,
sense.
how can I street smart they say. So so that was a blessing. So I just feel like God always puts certain things in my life and try to like tell me, hey, you got a rich partner, or hey, there's stuff you could apply for.
Take note of that. Pay attention
to that. And I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Okay.
And that can work out.
And that's all blessings. So this isn't me. This was like God putting everything in the right spot for me to take advantage of. Because I could have ignored it. I could have been like, I could have given up. But like when you read the Bible and stuff, you always see all them disciples going through stuff, right? Like Abraham trying, I know this from Lent, right? Abraham trying to sacrifice his son for God. I was like, this is your only son. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. But it's like just trusting God. So I was like, you know what? Let's see what's gonna happen, right? And it worked out because I always had faith and I worked hard. So.
And you worked hard. So let us talk about. So you spoke to us about your time at John Jay, and so you're done with John Jay. And you work in some side jobs, you're doing your little thing on the side.
Yeah, I teach at John Jay, so I'm an adjunct there, yeah.
Yes. But then, what are you going to do?
What you mean?
In terms of when you're done.
You mean done with John Jay or NYPD?
No, John Jay.
Oh, so,
what was the decision? What was the career path? What were you going to do?
Like I said, I went back to grad school because I was like, alright, undergrad was a lot. Like, big up to everybody studying science undergrad. It takes a lot of time, a lot of lab work. A lot of patience, so big up to everybody doing that. So after that, I knew I was like, boy, I don't know if I want to do a grad degree in science again. That was a lot, and it's a lot because I was working while going to school. So it wasn't like I was chilling on campus and just studying. Like I was working 2 jobs and having to go and trying to keep up a GPA that I knew would make me competitive in the field. So once I joined, the police department kind of came into my life while I was an undergraduate student. I was like, remember I told you I was always on campus? So I was on campus and student activity fee, pay attention. Yes. And so they were recruiting because John Jay was a criminal justice school, so obviously like police departments are going to recruit there. So the NYPD was recruiting for what they call the Cadet Corps program, which is an internship to get you in, to kind of like suck you in to make you want to become a cop. So at the time, they were, like I said in my video, they were paying $15 an hour. And at the time, my other jobs was $7 an hour, which was horrible. Because $7 an hour, man, again, that's why they wanted to bring that in the bill that they just passed to raise the minimum wage to $15. Because I know what it is to make $7 an hour. It's not enough money in New York City.
Can that even pay rent?
2 jobs can.
2 jobs.
1 job cannot pay rent in New York City. No. Like, I don't know what job you got, but if it's legal, I mean, make $7. Remember, you're making $7 an hour, but you're not making $7 an hour because they're taxing you as well. So you might be thinking $7 an hour is not bad if you work like 40 hours. Like, no.
But you're not even doing it full time.
You're not doing it full time, part time. Plus, they're taxing that. So if your check's supposed to be $400, by the time tax comes out, it's like $300. So $300 is not a lot of money when you have to buy transportation to school, have to buy books, have to buy food. Food in New York is not cheap. I mean, food nowhere is cheap. So John Jay, I was recruited with the NYPD Cadet Corps there because I saw $15. I was like, let's go. And I worked in a precinct as a cadet, and all I was responsible for was like doing admin stuff, like writing reports or like
for $15 an hour.
And I was like, and I could make my own schedule. The cops at the time were so friendly; they would drop me to school in a marked cop car, pick me up. I was like, I could get used to this. They like embraced me. I was like their little like West Indian like daughter, I guess. And they always said, "Cadet, make sure you stay in school, cadet. Cadet, you're smart. You could go places, cadet." And they were like, "You're gonna be a chief one day," and I'm like, "Chief?" I wasn't even thinking about being. I was like, "No, I'm just doing my science thing."
Yeah, $15 an hour. That's all that mattered to you at the time.
I'm just doing my money thing. This is gonna help my situation. And then once I graduated from school, again they kept me on as a cadet because I wasn't a citizen yet. Because you gotta spend 5 years in the country to become a citizen. So I couldn't join the police academy right away. So they kept me on. They made me actually full-time cadet. So I was getting paid $15 an hour full-time. So I was like, come on now.
So rent can be paid now?
Rent can be paid, and the cadet corps pays for college too. So they also gave me money for school too. I was like, this is great. Like what better job is there? Like, you know? And then once the police academy opened up, everybody was like, oh, you could do forensic science as a cop and make a lot more money. So all I heard was make more money. I said, what? How much more money are we talking about? And I looked it up. So forensic scientists on average make in the crime lab $60,000, which is a lot of money because I was making some, $15 an hour.
So
but
let's not forget the 7.
Let's not forget the 7. That thing still haunts me. And it was a lot because it was just me. So you're talking about making $7 an hour, paying rent, school, and all that. So okay, boom. So now we in the cadet corps. I'm thinking about doing the police academy, and I run the numbers, and I was like, oh, so a criminalist who basically analyzes the evidence, right? That's forensic science, analyzing the evidence and gives a conclusion. They don't make that much money, and their level of elevation is not a system that I like. So it's based on if someone likes you, and then they give you the promotion. Whereas NYPD, you get promoted if you pass an exam. There's no interview. There's nothing. So the top paid cop, after 5 years of being a police officer, your minimum wage is going to be $90,000. 90. So you're talking about cops making more than people with PhDs in the crime line.
Yes, wow.
That's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
I was like, it's a no-brainer here.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
I'm in.
I'm in. 5 years to make $90,000?
Yeah.
Come on now. What are we doing? Sign me up. I did that. I love the police academy. It's not like Police Academy the movie. I used to actually love that movie, but I did it. I didn't find it challenging in terms of because I knew I was going into the police academy, so I started running. I hate running now, but I started running a lot. And then once you could run a lot, you could pretty much pass the physical in the academy because that's really what.
Because you have to run after criminals.
Well, running they say kind of raises your endurance.
Okay.
So even if you don't have to run after criminals, when you have to fight them, your endurance is up. So that's why you see boxers, they run a lot. Because when you have to fight, your endurance has to be up. So I used to run a lot, and so I did that. The academy physical was fine. I was like, oh, this is aces. And then the academics, come on now. I just did a science degree. So it was like, let's go, baby. My average was 99 point something. I was like, come on.
Oh,
come on. But you're talking, when you study science, learning criminal justice laws is like, come on. You can do this in our high schools. Let's go. Get me out on the street so I can make this money. You know what I mean? So I did it.
I almost want to say it was all about the money for you.
Well, I mean, I tell you that money can change your way of life. And I was living, like I said, I didn't have heat in my apartment. I was freezing. You're coming from a tropical island. You put me in New York winter, living in an apartment with no heat.
Yeah, my sister who is in New York, she lives in New York. I mean, I visit her very often. You know, I think she can relate to some of what you're saying. Listening to the program right now, because I know she went through her fair share of hell. You could even say, in her early days in New York going to school.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a fantasy. Like people always say, "Oh my God, you went to the States to study."
Yes.
I'm like, let's pause for a second. It's not what you think it's gonna be.
Yes, what
it's
the
not.
reality
Yeah,
is.
you know, it's not coconut tarts and peanut punch.
I tell you.
There's a lot of foolery in New York. I didn't study anywhere else. I can't speak on other states and people's experience. But like New York faces you face a challenge because the city's so fast paced, and the city can basically eat you up if you don't have a strong mind. Because I got robbed in New York City. They stole my purse in New York. Like I was a victim of crime there. But I have to remember I have a goal in mind.
Yes,
like
yes,
I have to move forward from that. So you have to really go there knowing there are opportunities. When they say it's the land of opportunities, they're not lying. Because look at how far I've come from, you know, my starting point in New York. But you have to be willing to work harder than the average person. You know, when you see other people that don't look like you, that don't have to work, it's because they have generational wealth. Like I didn't have the generational wealth, so I knew if I wanted to make a better life, eventually I wanted to, you know, be able to tell my mom she don't have to stress no more. Like whatever you need. You know, when people say, "Oh, how much money do you need?" I'll send it. Like I wanted to get to that point at some time in my life. So the police department provided me that opportunity. So I had already broken. I learned this from my mother. Every time she did something, she would be like, "All right, what's our end game here? Like, what are we trying to do, and how long are we trying to do this, and what's the plan?" So I knew 5 years is top pay, but 5 years I could be a sergeant, and sergeant makes a lot more than cops. And then I was like, all right, and sergeant I gotta do 2 years, and then I could be a lieutenant, and then I could make even more. So I had already planned out my career, and again, God put out the exams in the right time for me to, like I was a young sergeant. I was a 5.5 year sergeant, and I was a young lieutenant. I was a lieutenant at 28 years old. That's like, so people would be like, "Wow, you're a lieutenant?" I'm like, "Yeah." But in my head, I'm like, I just took a test. But when you look around with lieutenants, the average age is not in the 20s. People usually stay sergeant for a little while and then become a lieutenant.
Yes.
I was like, listen, I don't have time to play here. Like,
take us through the process.
So in the NYPD,
how you started?
I went to the academy. I did my 6 months, and then I did patrol. So patrol is when you watch, you know, movies or TV shows. You see them in uniform. Those are the guys when you call 911. They get the job on the radio, and the radio tells them, "Hey, you got to respond to a 10:30, which is a robbery in progress."
We see that.
Yeah, so everyone knows. So I did that, right?
Question for you before
Yeah.
you continue.
It's not a glamour.
So there's the TV shows that we see, the
Yeah.
Law and Order, the
Yeah.
CSI and others.
NCIS, yeah.
What? Tell us what's the difference? What's the similarity?
Well,
as we see it.
Well, Law and Order is probably the most authentic cop show I've ever seen. I don't watch a lot of cop shows because it's just not reality. So I'm like, no, I can't watch this. This is ridiculous. But Law and Order actually, they also hire former NYPD people or people who are currently on the job to make sure that their show is authentic. So actually, I was telling my family's all excited about that because Law and Order is having a new series with Stabler. It's called Law and Order Organized Crime. But they actually
still on Law and Order.
So he was. Remember, he left the show. Yes. So he came back, and they gave him his own syndicate, his own show.
Okay.
So there's still Law and Order Special Victims Unit, but now there's Law and Order Organized Crime.
I have not watched it in a while. I used to love that.
Me too. I stopped watching once he left because I was like, Stabler was my detective. He's no longer there. I'm not watching it. But it's funny. Detective Benson, she's a captain now, but she went through the ranks like me. She was. I was never a detective, but she went to sergeant. And then lieutenant, and now she's a captain, so I'm gonna go for captain as well.
That's it, my girl.
Well, listen, I tell you, man, I mapped this out. I was like, what's our plan? Like, my mother asked me that when I became, she's like, what's your plan here? Like, is this just something you're doing for now, and then you're gonna go back to science? I was like, I don't know about science at this point, man. Like, I'm looking at that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I'm trying to, invest in myself and my family. So, at the time, science wasn't doing that for me. No shade to anybody who is doing science, but at the time I was like, I need something that is fruitful right now. So so with Law and Order, I am actually talking to the writers of Organized Crime. So they'll message me and say, Lieutenant, we're doing this episode, or I'm not gonna give away episodes.
Yes.
They're like, oh, we're doing an episode on this. Like, what is the steps that you think Stabler should? And I was like, oh, well, this is what we do because I work in a detective bureau now. So it came like full circle, right? I'm in Dominica in like my teens watching Law and Order, and now I'm like in my 30s talking to Law and Order about
advising.
the show. Yeah, it's like insane.
Oh,
I
man.
know, it's incredibly humbling. I was like, oh my god, Law and Order is talking to me. Like, Law and Order, the show that I watched
And
growing
this is
up.
no joke.
No, I can show you the emails. I mean, I wouldn't lie about that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I'm like, wow, I'm telling them how to do an investigation. Which is crazy. You would think they would know by now.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yes.
So that's like, so NYPD's cop, sergeant, lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
So you do the
So
cop
you
thing.
started with
Cop, PO, and then I moved up
where
to
you were doing the
patrol, responding.
and so on. Mm-hmm.
I did 2 years in the crime lab because remember the whole thing about you could do forensic science as a cop.
Right.
So the crime lab actually messaged me, asked me to come work there because they need people with degrees there. So I did that where I was basically responsible for managing the forensic cases, going through it, seeing what evidence we have, what testing we should do and what we shouldn't do. Did that for 2 years. Then I took the exam, did pretty good where you get promoted based on your score. So there's like a list. So I was pretty well on the list. So I got promoted in the first class. So that's how I was a young sergeant because you could pass the exam, but you might not get promoted for years because you didn't pass well enough. They'll get to you eventually, but I was trying to remember the goal.
No time to waste.
Yeah, remember the goal was that rainbow might disappear. I need that pot of gold. So I did that again. Obviously, all praise to God, but I did well. So I was able to be a young sergeant. Did that. I did my year on patrol. So now I'm supervising people.
You had to go back to patrol.
Yeah, you always go back to patrol.
Okay.
Yeah, they say it has to humble you, so you go back to patrol, and you learn how to be a sergeant. Because you're still in the rank of sergeant, so you have to be able to know how to manage cops. So I did that for a year.
So what is the role of a sergeant?
Oh, so you're the first line supervisor. So if you're on patrol, you're a cop, you respond to something. The cops will call you when they need you to verify an arrest. So you're supposed to say, yes, this arrest is legal, you did everything right. Or I'm there to discipline you. Like, oh, you messed up, you go back to the station house, we'll deal with you later, release this person. So like you telling them what to do, you're the boss.
So you did that?
Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
Oh my.
Because when you're a cop, I always tell people, if you always wonder if you could be a manager or move up, like in your company, just look around the people who basically sign your checks or who tell you who's in charge of you. And if you look at them, they're not that smarter than you. And they were in your point at some part in their life. So what makes them more special than you? So I would look at the sergeants when I was a cop. I'm like, oh, these sergeants are not that clever. So I'm like, I could do this, and I could do it. I love patrol. I was like, this is easy. And then I was tired of it. So I was looking to see the job has multiple different units you could work in. You know, crime lab, patrol. Yes. So I was looking to go to work in crime scene unit because I knew the commanding officer of the crime scene unit from working in the crime lab. But then he left. And now I was just like, well, I don't know where to go. And then the chief of detectives in Brooklyn South reached out to me because they needed sergeants. And they were like, hey, we know you were applying to the detective bureau. Would you want to be a sergeant in the detective bureau? And I was like, okay.
Okay.
And I never had detective bureau experience in terms of working with detectives, telling, how to do an investigation. I was basically a rookie all over again. And then I did that. I worked in Canarsie. Canarsie was having like a huge gang war with Flatbush. So when I say it was fun, I don't want people to think I was celebrating violence, but it was fun to learn how to do a violent investigation. Okay. So I responded to shootings, homicides, gang violence, stabbings. It was amazing. I was like, wow, this is great. Because now I'm not just responding and taking a report. Now I'm finding the bad guy.
Right.
So when we made that arrest, I always felt like so happy to talk to the victims if they're alive, or the families of the homicide victims, and tell them, we caught this guy, this is what we do.
It's
like
almost
Batman.
like you're giving me a picture of the things we see on television.
It's like Law and Order, yeah. You respond, you look at the crime scene, you talk to witnesses, you gather information, and you pull video. You're doing an investigation. You need to find out who did this, because if not, it's just going to continue the violence on the street. And your job is to protect people. So if you don't do your job, then people are going to get hurt. So you're literally Batman. You just don't have a cool costume. You just wear a suit. So I did that. Loved it. I was the only black female sergeant in a squad in Brooklyn South. So you look around the room, you're like, there's a lot of white folks here.
Yes.
And there are some black folks, but there are no females. So I was like, And definitely no West Indians. If you're looking for West Indian, good luck. You ain't gonna find them.
It ain't happening.
And then I took the lieutenant's exam. It came out. I did really well. And then I got promoted to lieutenant. They kept me. Remember I told you have to go back to patrol?
Yes.
So they were like, nope, we need you here.
You didn't do patrol.
No, they kept me, which was like, what?
Oh my God! Didn't your head just swell?
I thought they made a mistake. So I called the chief and I was like, they assigned me to Manhattan South, but I'm supposed to go back to patrol. He was like, no, we want to retain you in the bureau. And that was humbling because I was like, me? I was like, I'm not that special. But they kept me.
But clearly you were. You said that to me, you know. I have to mention this. This young lady, I'm speaking to her a couple of days ago and she's telling me, I'm not that special. Yes, you are. I mean, well, probably you don't see it yourself, but I guess to us, you know, as Dominicans, as black women, you know, especially us as black women, you know, to us, that is special.
Well, you know what it is? I see, like, you know, they say birds of a feather flock together. So, like, I'm, like, surrounded by what I see as special people. So I'm like, oh, these people need their own show. You know, my friends and my family have been doing great since I pretty much known them. So in New York, I have a lot of friends that have PhDs or they're doing, you know, like I told you, the Talk the Ting show. Like, everybody's doing phenomenal. So I'm like, Like, I was even making fun of Dwayne. I was like, well, I'm not that special because I'm not on Talk the Ting show. You know, I'm not Ferdina Frampton. you know, I'm not Shelly from that band. So I was like, oh.
Wait, you mean those guys haven't interviewed you?
No, they're my friends, but I was messing around with them. So my point is, like, I'm surrounding myself with people that are like special. So I'm like, like
you are.
You know, so I was like, I ain't Ferdina Frampton. You know, I know through Q95. So that's why I say that. I'm like, yeah. But when I do look in the department, I do see that the diversity is not there. Not necessarily because they don't want it. It's just the recruitment is difficult. So they retained me, and then I worked in Manhattan South, I worked in Chelsea, and then I worked in the Lower East Side, and I was the only black female lieutenant in both of those squads. And then I went there, I did pretty well there, and the chief was really happy, you know, and they're really happy with your performance. So he called me, and, you know, he's a great chief, Chief Harrison. He's now the chief of department, but he was chief of patrol at the time, then became chief of detectives. And then he said, I'm going to put you in a violent squad, because Manhattan is not as violent as Brooklyn.
Well, no, I would think not.
I would hope not.
Based on what I know.
Where the money is, you know, where the money resides is not where the violence is.
Yes.
Generally.
So
they put me in the Bronx, and he was like, I need you in the Bronx. You're going to get more FaceTime. People are going to see that you're really, like, a really great squad
But look
lieutenant.
at you.
Yeah, but I'm not on patrol, so I'm good. I'm just like the supervisor of detectives.
All right.
So I went to the Bronx. I had an amazing time. I'm still in the Bronx. And that's pretty much my career. I've just been doing that. And Bronx is violent. I'm hoping that we can see a change in the Bronx maybe within the next 5 to 10 years, where we can turn the borough around. Because a lot of people are hurting in the Bronx, and a lot of brown and black. I'll just say that. So yeah, so it's been a great ride, man. NYPD, I love it. They've embraced me. I've embraced them. I love this department. So, like, when I see people talking ill of the NYPD, I would like people to sometimes think of me when they think of the NYPD instead of what they see. I mean, we always gonna see some videos of things that we don't like to see, and that needs to be addressed. I'm a big proponent of addressing issues. I'm not the person that's like, oh, well, he should have not resisted. Like, stop it. Like, I don't say that. I say sometimes there is a gray area, because I've been there. I've fought people, I've been shot at. It's not, policing isn't pretty, and policing isn't easy. But, you know, when we don't do it correctly, it has to be addressed, just like anything else.
So you are the lieutenant in that particular...
In the 4-6 precinct, detective squad. I don't run the 4-6 precinct, I just run the detective squad. Yeah.
Right. So you run that squad. How many people?
So we lost 2 detectives recently, so now it's 28 detectives and 2 sergeants and 1 civilian.
And you run that department?
I run that, yeah.
So
just like I run the 9th and the 10th precinct squads, yeah.
All right. And you're talking, so that's about 31, 32?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. How old are you?
You're not supposed to ask the woman her age.
Yes. We can figure out how you should be about 32.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my birthday is on the 26th, so I'll be 33 on the 26th.
Okay, so these are all your presents in advance.
Yeah, thank you.
So there are men
Yes.
women,
Majority men. Yeah.
Caucasian,
Yeah.
um,
Always Caucasian. They're a majority, so they're gonna be there. Yeah.
are possibly older than you,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that you run. How does that work out?
Oh,
for
so
you?
I get asked that question a lot.
Yeah.
I got asked that question in my interview.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, how are you gonna feel like detectives are generally all the males?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Well, in my entire career, I've always been like I've always seen myself as the youngest. Because when I was on patrol, I was young on patrol. Even in the crime lab, I was pretty young. So I was always used to being surrounded by older people. But what I noticed is that, I want to bring that out. People will respect you regardless of your age if you respect them. So every time when I went to the detective bureau, I was a bit concerned because I was like, I've never been a detective. What if they don't like me? You know, you start doubting yourself. Once doubt sets in.
What if they say, who's this child?
Yeah, it's like, who's this child? Well, I'm not going to listen. Because when I was a sergeant, I was, because remember, I was a lieutenant at 28. So I was a sergeant at 26, right? Because I lost my mom at 26. I got promoted the same year I lost my mom. I remember not wanting to even take the promotion. But I was like, she wouldn't want that. She would want me to move on in my life. So I took the promotion. I remember saying, oh, these people are like old. And there are people on patrol that's like 50s, right? I was like, this is not going
to work out.
But I humbled myself, right? I was like, listen, I'm not going to go in there acting like I know everything because I don't. And I'm going to lean on the people who've been doing it a long time.
Good approach.
Right. And I go there with respect, but they have to understand too that I'm going to let you do the job, but I'm going to protect you, which means I'm going to make sure you're doing the job correctly. Because we get caught up sometimes where we don't want to follow the rules because we haven't been punished. So we're like, it's no big deal. We do it this way. I'm like, nah. We got to follow the patrol guy because when something happens and you get sued, the department is going to throw you on the side of the road and say, well, we didn't teach him that. So I'm big on that. So sometimes you get pushed back because they're like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. We're going to do it this way because that's the way we do it. I'm like, we're going to do it the patrol guy way, not even the Rennae way. The Rennae way is by the rules.
That's right.
When you follow the rules, everything works out for you pretty well. So what happens is sometimes it takes them a little time to acclimatize to how I supervise. But once they notice, because what happens is when people don't follow the rules, people get in trouble. When people get in trouble, they either lose their job, they get suspended, they lose money, vacation. So people started noticing my squad wouldn't get in trouble. And they would start noticing their other peers would get in trouble. And then they're like, oh, wait, she was onto something. So even when I was in Brooklyn, I had a policy where you remember I told you I can't be late, gotta be on time.
Yes.
Like, so they would be used to coming in late. And I stopped that. I was like, you gotta be on time. And then there was a big scandal that hit where people were always late and none of them got in trouble. And they called me like a year later and they're like, oh, you really onto something. I was like, oh, following the rules, what a concept. So, and I was taught that when I was a rookie. So I was like, well, my sergeants always made sure we were good. So when you go into a squad, when I went into my first squad as a young lieutenant at 28, in my head I was like, well, I was a young sergeant at 26, so I already been through this and I know how to approach them. You approach people with humility and you approach them with respect because they've been doing it longer than you and they're going to be doing it after I'm gone. Because I always tell people I don't stay in the same place for too long. So I was in Manhattan for 2 years, now I'm in the Bronx. I'll probably do the Bronx for 2 or 3 years and I'll be somewhere else. So it's, I'm almost like a ship in passing. I dock like a cruise ship and I'm on to the next destination. So once they know you respect them, but they respect your rank, they'll respect you once you respect them. So I never had any problems. Like I have a detective that's like 58, about to retire, and we get along great. I get along with everyone, the young, the old.
You're a black woman and female.
Yes.
How did that play out as well?
So I was always used to be a part of a minority. When I was in the police academy, I looked around. I was like, oh, there's not a lot of us in here. So I already knew what it was. I had a taste of that in the police academy from my first day entering the academy and swearing to uphold the law. So I was like, okay, you're gonna have to figure this out. So it wasn't something that I really let bother me because I was more concerned of learning the law and learning to become a very good police officer to the people in the street. So I was pretty much caught up in that, the learning curve of being a rookie. And then once that was done and I got to the lab and I again started seeing there's not a lot of black people there, I was like, oh, this is normal. Just like you know, you look around most of the major companies, you don't see a lot of black executives or CEOs. So I listen to a lot of those podcasts as well, where I'm like, wow, this is like not just a policing issue. This is just an issue generally in America that we are the minority, and then women on top. But, you know, so black is one thing, right? Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of black cops, period. But you will see a lot more black cops in the rank of police officer. But when you start moving up the rank, you know, it's like a pyramid.
It's disappearing.
Yeah, the numbers start diminishing very quickly. So I am the only black female squad commander in the Bronx. I'm the only black female squad commander in the whole of NYPD, and there's 77 squads.
Wow.
And there's
how many women?
There's 5 women lieutenants and 3 women sergeants who run squads. Any
of them of color?
Yes, there are Hispanics.
Okay.
There are Hispanics, but I'm the only black. So.
And you're from the Caribbean.
Oh, I'm the only West Indian. Well, actually, there is she is like West Indian, like she's Indian, like from Trinidad. Okay. You know, the Indians in Trinidad. Mm-hmm. So she's West Indian. Her family's from Trinidad. So I can't say I'm the only West Indian who runs a squad, but I'm the only West Indian lieutenant. She's a sergeant.
But you're from the small.
Oh, Dominica, yeah, I'm the only Dominican, yeah. Yes. Well, we know that.
The speck on the map,
yeah, the dots,
yeah. The dots on the map, they would refer to us. What was your first day like when you stepped in as a lieutenant? When you stepped into the office, what was that like?
I remember having a whole lot of confidence, right? Because I already did it as a sergeant, and I came from a violent precinct, so I was like, I'm going to Manhattan. There's nothing they could teach me. I know this. You know when you start like, you know, I'm like, this is gonna be easy. And I was not, because Manhattan is a whole different area than Brooklyn, and they do things differently, and you have different victims, if that makes sense. And there's a lot of politics in Manhattan. So I had to learn how they do investigations. And a robbery in Manhattan, you're gonna get a call from the chief.
Right.
A robbery in Brooklyn, no one calls you. So I remember we had a shots fired where someone just has a gun and lets rounds go. In Brooklyn, that's an everyday occurrence. That's normal. Nobody gets called for that. In Manhattan, there's a guy letting rounds go. Everybody's calling you. And I had like a wake-up call. I was like, oh wait, I'm not in Brooklyn anymore. I'm in the rich part of town. You know, this is Manhattan. We gotta take everything as if, you know, it's on fire. So there was a learning curve working in Manhattan. But the detectives, they were aces. Mm-hmm. So they weren't full of themselves because they were Manhattan detectives. But there was a certain aura that they had, like the way they carried themselves, because you know you are dealing with, you know, billion-dollar people. So it was great. I had a good experience. So my first day was fine, but then my second day I had like a culture shock. I was like, oh, I'm not in Brooklyn anymore. Mm-hmm. But the detectives, still to this day, I love Chelsea detectives, the 10th squad and the 9th squad. They embraced me. They were like, listen, this is not Brooklyn. We're gonna teach you the Manhattan way. And the Manhattan way and the Brooklyn way is the NYPD way. We solve crime no matter who the victim is. But you have to understand that in Manhattan, because of the climate and the area, and you know everyone has their studio or their building in Manhattan, you're gonna have more spotlight in Manhattan. So I had to learn how to navigate that and always be ready for that phone call, because at any time it could be Governor Cuomo who's a victim of a crime. Now it's like, you know, it's all hell's breaking loose. So that was great. I loved it. I love my job. So like, I'm never nervous necessarily. I'm excited.
Even when you were moving to Bronx?
When I moved to Bronx, I knew they were gonna talk a lot of mess, because they were gonna like, oh, you come from Manhattan, this is the Bronx, this is a whole different animal. But as soon as I came in, I'm like, listen, I always give like a pep talk. I have a meeting with my first day. My first day, I want everybody in a meeting. I'm like, listen, let me introduce myself, and let's get this going. So I was like, listen, I already know you guys think I come from Manhattan South, and they call it Manhattan Soft. So they don't say South. They're like, oh, you come from Manhattan Soft. This is the Bronx, the BX. Like, so I was like, listen, I started in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is more violent than Bronx. Don't play with me. And they were like, oh, you came from Brooklyn? I'm like, yeah, so what do you guys say now? I have my street cred. Like, what are we talking about? So the Brooklyn experience gave me that, like, confidence that I was ready to go. And I killed it. I mean, I don't like bigging up myself, but...
You can.
Listen,
you have permission
we have the highest clearance rate in the city for violence. That means a clearance rate is you solve the crime through an arrest, meaning you arrest the bad guy. So in the Bronx and in Brooklyn, in violent commands, they look at shootings and homicides. That's where your bread and butter is, right? Because that's the most important crime, because someone lost their life or have the ability to lose their life. So when you make an arrest, you took a violent person off the street. And when you do that, that counts as closing the case or clearing the case. So when I say we have the highest clearance rate, it means we make the most arrests on violent cases in the city.
Okay.
Come on now, what we doing? And I kept bragging about my detectives. I never put it on me because at the end of the day, the detectives reflect great on you.
Yes.
They're the ones doing the work.
Agreed.
So I would be like, yo, my detectives are killing it. We have the high, like I'll run around saying we have the highest clearance rate in the Bronx.
You're proud of your guys.
Of course, like they're phenomenal. If something ever happened to me, anybody part of my family, you want a 4-6 detective solving that case because they will kill it. They don't care who the victim is. Could be a gang member, could be a passerby, it could be an innocent person. They don't care about who the victim is. It could be black, white, Asian. It's about we need to get the shooter off the street. And I love that.
Simple
I
as
love
that.
They go hard, so I go hard for them, but you know, I killed it. I mean, we killed it. Like I say we killed it.
Yes. What first of all, what is a typical day like for you on the job?
What I love about this job is no day is ever predictable.
Right.
I love it. So like Monday, it could be a dead day where you're like, wow, nobody shot today. I know it's like so sad that we have to say that. And my detectives, they like investigating violent crime, rightfully so, because you get to get a violent person off the street. So
it's reality.
Yeah,
it happens.
Right. It happens, and you hope that it happens in your jurisdiction, so you get to investigate the case. It also makes you a better detective. It's harder to find somebody who does a shooting and homicide than somebody that does a robbery. Because at the end of the day, you can replace property. You can't replace a person.
Sure.
So they get excited when someone's shot, or like, not excited that they were shot, but excited to find a person who felt that they could do this in the 4-6. So a typical day like could be slow where everyone's safe, going about their business, which is a great day in the NYPD because that means we're lowering crime.
Do you have an office in a
Oh,
corner
no.
somewhere, or you're on an open floor?
No, so I have my own office, and then my office has a door that enters into the sergeant's office.
Okay.
And then that sergeant office has a door that enters into the floor, and then there's a door that goes to that exits out the.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
when you walk in, you're gonna see the detectives, because I don't want people to walk in and be able to just talk to me right away, because it is too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you walk in, they can't just walk in. They know there's like a sign on the door that says you gotta call before you walk in, because we can have criminal informants in there, like on the street they call them snitches. So you
have to protect them.
Yeah, I don't want people seeing my CIs. I don't want that, because then it's gonna be a problem. Then we can have victims there, and I don't want people to see victims, because sometimes people don't even want to be called a victim. And then also we could be doing interrogations, and I don't want somebody to be hearing what we're saying, even if it's like just like TV. It's a closed room. There's a glass, the two-way mirror. It's just like that. But it makes sense because I have to supervise the interrogation. I have to make, like when people say, "Oh, detectives beat people up in interrogation," that cannot happen.
Right.
But it doesn't happen when I'm supervising.
Right. So that's what I mean about what's your typical day like.
Yeah.
So what do you do then?
So I would say if there's a shooting or like a homicide, something really violent, I respond to the scene.
You go physically?
Yeah, I have to go. I have to make sure my guys know what they're doing. So it's like my job is I'm a supervisor of everyone else.
Right.
So I have to make sure my sergeants and my detectives are doing their job.
Right.
So they know how to do their job, but you're accountable. So if something happens on the street, like on the crime scene, and the chief calls me, I can't be like, well, I don't know, I didn't go out there.
No,
It's gonna be like, yeah, you gotta be out there making sure they're doing their job. So I'll respond and I'll be like, all right, I need somebody to go to the hospital, interview the victim, need pull cameras on this block, get back to me on this, talk to this person, bring that person. Like I'm just basically giving orders, but they kind of know what they have to do anyway.
Yeah.
But it's fun because detectives sometimes are very arrogant and they think they know everything. And then when I'm reviewing the case, I always do case reviews with them. I'm like, yo, come to my office, I want to go over the case. I'm like, yo, let's do this. And they're like, oh, that's actually a good idea. I'm like, and you've been doing this how many years? You know, it's like, I love it because I'm like, you see, I could teach you something. And then when it actually, we have this technology NYPD came up with where the system will run the video for you just by putting in the report number. So it will tell you there's video around just by, and all you gotta do is enter report number. You don't even gotta like go look. It will show up on your computer. So a guy tried to close a case, and I was like, hey, do me a favor, run this report. He was like, oh, I don't know what report you're talking about. I was like, what? So I sent him a PowerPoint presentation. I'm like, you're a big boy. Watch this, do it. He comes back the next day, he goes, you will not believe what I found. I was like, huh, what did you find? And on video, he has a guy shooting a gun at a car. But he would have closed the case thinking there's no video because nobody reported it. It was just, we have this technology in every precinct where it detects what it believes to be a gunshot. It doesn't necessarily have to be a gunshot. Sometimes it's a bike running over a grading or whatever. So sometimes because nobody calls 911 or nobody saw anything, they'll assume nothing happened. Whereas I don't assume anything. I'm like, let's just prove nothing happened. We don't want somebody with a gun running around the street. And so he said, you will not believe. And he shows me the video. I was like, you're welcome.
That's all.
You're welcome. So yeah, that's a typical day. Just supervising investigations, and I love it.
What kind of manager or supervisor would you say you are?
I love it. This is my concept, and I always said that when I became a supervisor, this is what I want. I want it to be, I make it a team concept. So when you watch sports, I don't want to use American football because we're in Dominica, but like when you watch any, like everybody watches football here, soccer, right? Most people, I would say 99. Yeah, everybody does that. There's always going to be a manager. So when you watch football, you know, English Premier League, there's a manager. So in Arsenal for years, it was Arsene Wenger. So everybody would blame the manager. Like Chelsea, they'll sack managers like every term, right? They're like, he's a bad manager. And there's a concept to that. Because in theory, if your players are not producing, in theory, it's because you're not managing correctly. But then at the same time, sometimes you don't need to manage certain players because they're just that good. So you wouldn't be a good manager either if you also didn't have the talent. So when I look at my management style, I look at it as I have a team of people. I need to know where they're strong, where they're weak, and as such, put people to play certain positions, know when to take them off, know when to sub them, know when to protect them. And so they're able to thrive in their positions on the field, in the fields, because we have, you know, when we go out in the field, we go in the street. And then we win championships, and I'm just like, yes, man, I want to thank God. I want to, you know, because at the end of the day, we won because we're a team. And they listen to the manager and they respect the manager because they know the manager is making good decisions. And I respect them because I know where their weaknesses are, where their strengths are, and I exploit that. Like one guy is really good at shootings, and in a certain gang was having a gang war in our precinct. But the way they get cases is there's a catch. So they'll say, oh, I'm catching. This is my catching time. So we had a shooting that involved the Trinitario gang, but the last two shootings he had just happened to be Trinitarios. So in my head, I know they're gonna be mad that I reassigned the case to him. And I know he's gonna be mad because he's not catching, right? It's not his time to catch cases. So I called my office, I was like, listen, I want you to take this case. And he was like, I already knew what was gonna happen. I work with detectives long enough. I knew he's gonna say it's not my catch, it's not my time, this is unfair, you're punishing me because I'm good, but I didn't ask to be good, I just do my job. And I'm like, alright, so you're taking this case, and I know you're gonna work the case no matter how mad you are, because he's that detective with that work ethic. Doesn't matter how mad he is, he's gonna work the case. Right. Because it reflects on his work. And of course, in true fashion, Bernie fashion, he's one of my detectives, he solved the case, and I was like, you're welcome. Like, you just have to know what people are good at, and sometimes it's not necessarily following the rules that's always been in place. You have to do new rules. So that's why it was just like football. When a new manager comes in, they don't want a new manager to do the same thing the old manager did. Like, you have to be able to say, I want to buy new players, I need this talent, I need to get rid of dead weight. Sometimes it's okay to get rid of people who don't work. So I had to get rid of a detective who wasn't working. You got to make tough decisions. And I always tell my detectives, I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to protect you and your pension and get us to the championship.
How did you decide on that particular management style?
Oh, okay. Great question. So when I was a cop, I would see a lot of poor managers, a lot of bad supervisors where they feel like they're effective if they yell at you, if they belittle you, if they call you names, if they mistreat you. And I was like, this is not working because people get disgruntled. When you treat people like they're not important, they're going to feel unimportant. So they're either going to get depression or become alcoholics or just be angry. When you have angry cops, you're not going to have productive cops. I always say, happy workers are productive and effective workers. So that's why I used to bake every weekend and bring to my squad. I used to like, when people get goodies, they get happy. So if they have cupcakes
or donuts,
well,
did you make donuts?
No, I don't make donuts, but I don't eat donuts.
But you'd buy them donuts?
I just bake because
they say police officers love donuts.
Yeah, they say, well, that came from the fact that Dunkin' Donuts was always open, so cops could always go there. Because when you work a weird shift and everywhere,
so it was availability.
Yeah, it's availability. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the fact that they just love donuts. It's just that Dunkin' Donuts is always open. Okay. So it's like just like Crown Fried Chicken. They also love chicken because Crown Fried Chicken is always open in Brooklyn. So at 2 o'clock you could get chicken and chips.
You sound like you enjoy your job and you enjoy working with the people that you work with.
Every squad I've gone to, I've loved it. And all the detectives are different. But I love each one of them.
The next step you're saying is captain.
Yes.
What is it going to take to get you to captain?
Oh, I have to take an exam.
Again.
I feel like, yeah. But you know, life is about really exams, whether it's academic or social. It's always about testing yourself. And if you don't go for the ringer, then you I don't know if you can really look back and see what you achieved. You know, they say your life is like a tea bag, you know your strength when you're in hot water. So I have to take an exam to be a captain. So I would say I have to humble myself now because now in my head I have 2 down and I did really well on 2. So I'm like, what's a third? But when you start acting like that, that's when you get into problems because God doesn't like, ugly. So you gotta really just say, no, this is a different exam, this is a different ball game, this is more serious because now a captain is higher obviously than a lieutenant, so you're a higher executive. So now the captain is in charge of lieutenants, sergeants, cops, stuff like that. So I'm gonna take the captain's exam. I anticipate it coming. Usually when I anticipate it coming out, it comes out. I'll be very good at predicting. So I would say it's gonna come out. They're gonna announce it either later this year or early next year, and then I'll probably take it next year fall. And if I do well, I'll be a captain in theory. If everything goes well, right?
According to plan.
According to plan, according to Dominica, God spare my life, which is very important. Nothing is promised, and I just feel like the amount of, my mom died at 51, so in my head, that's my half-life. So in my head, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it to 51. I don't know if I'll make it to 35. So I want to do as much as I can while I'm here with my family and with my friends, as well as with my career. So that's why I'm always pushing for my detectives to get promoted, pushing for people, because I know I might not be here long. Nothing is promised, I might be here long like my grandmother, but I don't know. So captain is next, and then I'll go back to patrol as a captain because I want to run a precinct. Not I run a detective squad, but I want to run a precinct. Now I want to be able to be right there with the community now and be responsible for their daily lives, whereas now I'm just responsible for investigations.
So you want to go back on the streets?
Yeah, I've done the detective thing already. I've done it by the time I made captain, I would have done it for like 5 years.
I like how you say that, by the time I make captain.
Well, in theory, right. If everything lines up, I told you that plan we started.
I want to show you something someone just said for me.
Oh my gosh, that's my granny. Oh my gosh, no way.
Jody said that.
Wow.
Yes,
That's that's my grandmother.
Bring it closer.
That's like the lady who raised me.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. That's an incredible photo.
Yeah.
That lady is one of the best ladies you ever meet in your life. Strong, poor, made her way up, traveled the world, teaching. She'll tell you great stories. But
all right.
So that's me.
I'm going to give you a break
to
have some water.
All right.
Not to open the back to take the trash, but just to have some water.
Okay.
And then we're going to come right back. It's 10 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. This is the In the Spotlight radio show. Just want to say thank you again to all of you who have joined us, whether via the airwaves of Q95, and those of you who have joined us on Facebook. Oh my God, we have a record 540 something viewers on there. Yes, and remember I told you this is a radio program.
Yeah,
so we're just catching those who are actually on social. So we know we have thousands listening via radio. So thank you so much, guys, for being so interactive.
Thanks for being so interested.
Yes, in you and what you do.
Your show, not me.
You. Okay, you and the show. All right. So we just want to say thank you again to Prime Wagon, to my good friends Daniel and Kendra. I hope that they're still locked on. Today I really thought they were just gonna bring me a little basket of things, and then when I saw this whole basket, they got me all emotional. So thank you so much, Daniel and Kendra. Thank you to Sakla, JD's Naturals, Awesome Cocoa, Dominica Coconut Product Successors, Josephine Gabriel and Company, Tony's Punch, We Forward, Deepex, and the Dominica Festivals Committee for just, responding to me in such quick time and so easily, when I made the request that I did. It is really, really greatly and deeply appreciated. As I said, in some cases I didn't even have to say what I wanted it for. Just ask for what you want and that's it. So thank you to everyone. We're just going to do this and we're coming back to talk to Rennae some more. I don't think we're not done yet. We're not done yet. But the people are really loving the vibe and we thank you all for loving the vibe with us tonight.
Oh man, somebody was trying to blow me. I don't know why. People are hilarious.
And while I have your attention on the program tonight, let me remind you to become a fan of our Facebook page. That is the In the Radio Shows group by In the Spotlight Radio Show. So check us out. You can follow me. I'm at my maximum of friends, but you can follow me. There's always interesting stuff happening on my page. I also have a public page, which is my Ferdina Frampton page. We also have our Triple F Marketing and Advertising page, so go there and give us some support. And we also have the In the Spotlight Radio Show page as well. Again, thank you to Q95 for affording us the opportunity to be here on a Monday night. And thank you again to Father Elton Leta for sharing this amazing news with me last week that we can have Rennae, Lieutenant Francis, here on the program tonight. What do you enjoy doing, Rennae, outside of doing police
policing
work?
Yeah, so definitely love investigations, and like I said, I feel like that's important. But personal life, I would say I like scuba diving. I actually have a dive tomorrow with Nature Island Dive in Suffolk. I'm doing canyoning on Thursday with Extreme Dominica. So I like those type of things. I like being outdoors. I wouldn't say I wanted to hike on this trip, because I was like, no, let me stay away from that. Let me just go to the beach and stuff like that. So I like outdoorsy stuff. I like traveling. I know COVID kind of put a stint in that. We can't really go anywhere too much because that virus is debilitating. It's like killed a lot of people. So I don't want to be a part of that spread. Even if I'm vaccinated, I don't want to be a part of that. So I like traveling. I like going out with my friends. My group of Dominican friends, the same ones I always talk about because they're like a core part of my life. We usually link up at either Henny Parlon's house or Dwayne or like my house, or sometimes we go to Rajesh' apartment, Kara's apartment, and they either cook a DPG, a broth or whatever, and we hang out. So I like hanging out with them.
What do you know about DPG?
Come on, I know too much about DPG. Every time we have a link up, I kid you not, every single I even used to tell them when I fed up with DPG. Like every link up is, boy, let's make a partner, let's make a DPG. I'm like, really? We can make other things.
For some time, I didn't know what DPG was.
Yeah, I know. Right? Well,
for those who don't know, tell them what it is.
Well, it's an acronym for dumpling, DPPs, and gel kosher.
Dumbway power gel kosher.
Correct. Yes, and it's very good, and we make it all the time because it's also affordable. So we link up, we do that. The guys will have their red cap and their stuff, and then we'll just like either do. Sometimes we have games night. We'll do games night. So we're like pretty low key people, We don't really like go to like fetes and clubs and stuff. I feel like we all past that age. People have kids or people doing graduate degrees. So we're more like the mature club where we just have like home stuff. So that's what I enjoy. Hanging out with my friends. They're like I said, they've been a core part of my life because when I was moving, I moved often in New York. So they would always help me move when I was dealing with my first house. I had a lot, you know, I would wonder like, dang, are people gonna judge me because my house wasn't new? Like there was a lot of things that needed to be fixed, and my friends was like, are you crazy? You have a house. Like we're gonna come, we're gonna link up, we're gonna hang out. So they've kept me grounded, and we have a WhatsApp group chat, you know, and you know that group chat does get crazy sometimes, but yeah, so that's what I enjoy, spending time with my friends. I think that's important, being around people that respect you and you respect them equally, and we always pushing each other. Like I said, everybody in the group is doing well. Everybody in the group is either went to grad school or is starting a business or doing something that, you know, is productive. So I like to surround myself with people like that. I make fun of Henry Carlon a lot because I always feel like he's never ending in school and he's collecting degrees. He reminds me of my mom.
He's like my brother Bernard.
I feel like he's always in school. I'm like, didn't you? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You could just
always in
like
school.
you could just work now. It's okay, but it's just like he's from Colleyville and he has his little Colleyville boys group. But it's always like we always pushing each other to make sure to know that we came from a small island, but we always want to represent Dominica as best as we can, and we want Dominicans to look at us and say, oh, we can do the same thing. So we want to be. I think we all want to be role models to people, and you know that's why with the Talk the Thing show they try to bring Dominicans on to show that Dominicans are doing very well. And let's keep that energy because it's easy for us to dim our light, you know, but we should be trying to shine bright, and because you know we are diamonds, shine bright like a diamond. So that's what I enjoy. Yeah.
You've been to about 50 countries.
Yeah, I've been to a lot. Yeah.
Most amazing ones.
Oh man, I really liked Southeast Asia. So I try to go back there a lot because you know with Southeast Asia they embrace you. It's not like you feel any sort of way because you don't look like them. They embrace you and they have like their culture is very humbling. So I love Taiwan. Oh man, I love Taiwan. Taipei reminded me of Dominica, but just a little richer with a little more money and more development. But the people there embraced me. The cops loved me. They took me out. They showed me traditional Taiwanese food, and they still message me today. They're like, "We're gonna come back to Taiwan," and I'm like, "Yeah, when the pandemic ends at some point." But so I really love Southeast Asia. I don't want Caribbean people to think I don't love the Caribbean because I've been to a lot of Caribbean islands, so obviously that's gonna be the core of my base. But like outside the Caribbean, I would say I love Southeast Asia. If anybody gets a chance to go there, I would say don't just focus on like Bali or I know Thailand is getting a lot of press now because it's a nice country. Because I did Thailand too a long time ago, but there are so many other countries in Southeast Asia that you should explore. So that's the area that I like. But in South America, I loved Colombia. Medellin was really nice. Again, they embraced me. Great food. Not better than Dominican food. Okay, I like my fake pie and stuff. But and then so like, those are the areas I really like. Europe is nice, you know, but Europe is expensive. Okay. So if you don't have the money, sometimes Europe can be costly. Okay. So that's why I like Southeast Asia because you know what, you don't have to spend a lot of money and it's still warm, and you can dive and stuff.
Good experience.
Yeah, great. I wanted to go, so I had an African trip booked 2020 in March for my birthday. I was going with my friend Kezia because she's also born in March, and we were like, we have to hit the motherland. So we had a trip booked to Kenya and Zanzibar. And we were gonna do like a nice safari because my aunt worked in Botswana, but I didn't get a chance to go to Botswana while she was there. So I always said, you know what, let's go to Africa. Now we have the means to go. We planned it, but then when COVID had hit. My last real vacation was Dominica Carnival. So after we came back, that's when things went awry and everyone was like, "Oh, so we can't do anything." So I had to cancel that trip. But yeah, Africa is on my mind for sure. It's definitely where I want to go. You know.
As you speak about COVID, what was the quarantine experience like? What was the whole traveling experience like?
Well, I actually traveled before during COVID. We were very, you know, when I mean travel, I went to like little states in America. So we went to Cleveland, Ohio. It was fine. I mean, we were very protected. But traveling internationally, that was my first trip was Dominica, and I like I said, I had more of a inclination to go. If my grandmother wasn't really here, I would have probably pushed it off a little bit because I would prefer to spend 2 weeks like actually out versus in a room. So when I first landed, I already knew what to expect because in my Austin, I have an Arsenal WhatsApp group chat with only Dominicans who majority live in Dominica. So big up this at the Arsenal group chat. And they will basically give me good information. And then some people reached out to me because of the video they saw. So I had Eddie Saber reach out to me and he kind of guided me and told me, hey, listen, you have to get this, you have to get that. My friend Rajiv also told me places in New York that I could get a PCR test very quickly. So I did all of that. I finally got there. I mean, I had a 6 a.m. flight. I didn't get to Dominica till 5 p.m. You know, that's sometimes the things that you really have to tell yourself, oh, you take a whole day to travel. But then I had taken the Moderna vaccine. So I'm a big proponent of vaccines. I studied science, so of course I'm going to be a supporter of science. That makes sense. Also, my boyfriend's a doctor and he took it. So I saw he took it and he was fine. So I was like, all right, you all right? You didn't grow like a third head? Okay, fine. So I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to take it. Plus, when in policing, you see so much tragedy with the virus. So we would respond to a lot of, we call them DOAs, which is death on arrivals, where people saying, hey, this person didn't wake up and stuff. And it's just, you see people at their worst because of the virus. So I was like, ugh. And I'm not, like people think, oh, I got it, I'm fine. That's nice for you. I'm not sure it's going to happen to me if I contract the virus. So I took the Moderna vaccine. So I know the vaccine, how it works is obviously it produces antibodies. So if you do contract the virus, your body's not just like, oh, what's this new thing? It's already ready to fight. So when I landed in Dominica, they did this antigen test, the rapid antigen test. And I told them, I was like, hey, listen, I'm going to have antibodies. I took the Moderna vaccine. My last dose was February 8th.
Because it's actually the virus that you're really getting.
Well, it's
to some extent.
Right, the mRNA from the virus that mimics a response, right, to the spike proteins. So you're not actually getting live virus in your system, but it's going to react the same way it would if you did have COVID. So when you take an antigen test, it's going to give you a positive result. So I told them ahead of time, I'm like, listen, I'm going to have a positive result on the antigen test. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. Come back, positive. And they were like, oh, you gotta, they were like, you need in-room quarantine. I was like, in-room quarantine? What's in-room quarantine? You cannot leave your room. I was like, all right, well, I don't argue with officials there because you ever seen that show Locked Up Abroad? So now I knew I wasn't gonna get locked up in Dominica, but I was like, you know what? I'm out of my jurisdiction. This is not New York City. I ain't gonna tell people how to do their job. So if they need to put a red band on my hand, they can put their red band. So the red band meant I had to be in the room till my PCR test came back.
Okay.
So Dr. Ahmed actually ended up giving my results like the Sunday night. And where I was staying, I'm not gonna mention the name because I'm not in the business of like throwing people under the bus, but my initial accommodations was not great at all. I did not have a good time there. And with Eddie Sarver's help and Dr. Ahmed, and we get the results, and my cousin Shannon Prevo helped me contact Jungle Bay. Big up to Jungle Bay. Love the resort. Yes. Big up to Judy Atian for doing the right thing, helping me out. And Sam, the owner. And Jungle Bay is in Suffolk.
I recently interacted with them for something and it was very pleasant.
Oh my goodness. These people are like the example of what customer service should be in the hotel industry. So anyway, so Monday I transferred to Jungle Bay. What a different experience. I got my local food. If you wanted alcohol, they had all the local alcohol there. I didn't really drink whatever, but gorgeous views. I mean, I'm in my village too, and everybody was so welcoming. The staff, they were amazing. They were like, oh, you're the girl in the video. I was like, no, that's not me. I was like, no, I just saw you. We're so happy for you. We're so proud. I was like, really? Like strangers, and they just treated me amazingly. So big up to Jungle Bay. If you have the chance to stay there, I would definitely recommend them. They are not paid. This is not sponsored. I paid my own money to stay there. Yes, yes. It wasn't free, but I believe in giving credit where credit is due. So other than the red band situation, I did and Dominica, which is brilliant, has Safe in Nature, so you can pay a higher fee. So like normally we wouldn't pay to go Trafalgar, right? Let's go Trafalgar. Right. But because you're in quarantine,
I think there's a small fee, but
yes, a small fee. Yeah, but you have to go in a Safe in Nature tour bus with a tour guide. So when people are like, "Hey, you out of quarantine, man? I see you by Trafalgar," I was like, "No, I'm still in quarantine. However, I'm doing a Safe in Nature tour because I didn't want to just stay on the resort the whole 5 days." So I did that. I got out and I was like free. Although I loved the resort, I wanted to go home. Like my whole point of being here was to see my grandmother.
To see grandma.
Yeah, so I was just down the road, so it was good.
But overall, it's a good experience.
Overall, if you have to be, even all of my American friends are like, well, I went to quarantine where you quarantined, because it looked like.
Even your video, the original video that you did.
Right, people was like, what the heck? Yeah.
She's on vacay.
Yeah, people were like, well, I will do this anytime. And there was a lady from Essence Magazine, who was staying there as well, and she was in quarantine at Jungle Bay. So, but every day she was doing like a Safe Nature tour. I wasn't gonna do that every day. It was just a great experience. So, yeah, the quarantine, I would say, have some patience. One thing I would give the country is that they are being very strict about it, because I've seen what COVID does when you don't take it seriously. So I was happy too, because I knew when I went to see my grandmother with the vaccine, and I did like 2 PCR tests in the span of 5 days. I knew I wasn't bringing nothing. So I was happy that I got that in my head, because I would not want to cause the demise of my grandmother, because I just figure, oh, it's just COVID. No, it ain't just COVID. Like, that thing will take you out like that. So it was fine. I did it. I have nothing bad to say about Jungle Bay. So yeah, it was good. I mean, I wish I didn't have to do it, but it was fine.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna switch gears on 2 issues in just a while before we get to the end of our program. So there is a former police officer on the live who wants me to ask you your views on community policing.
Oh yeah, big proponent of community policing. I think we took that a little bit for granted before. So police commissioners basically run the department how they see the department should be run. So we had a commissioner before, Ray Kelly, who was big on enforcement. Like, his take was, we lower crime by enforcing the laws. Like there's no, give you a pass. It's like we're gonna go straight and summons and arrest everybody. And I mean, I had to kind of be under that police commissioner for a little while, and I was just like, wow, this is a little too much, because I'm not sure it's proactive, and I'm not sure it's smart policing. And when Commissioner Bratton came, and eventually Commissioner Shea came, and they put in the precision policing, I was like, finally, like, we noticed that the arrests we were making were not necessarily getting the people we want to get, and that was an issue. We had a stop and frisk issue where stop and frisk, the actual law is legal, but the application was being overly applied, because there was almost like we had to do it, or else, what else do we know? We know enforcement. So when community policing came in, it was like, well, this makes sense. The community knows what's going on in the community, so we need to talk to the community. Like, people need to understand that in policing, we are like superheroes and Batman, and we fight in crime, but at the end of the day, we need to understand that there's a smart way to do it as well. I remember I told you, work smarter, not harder. So if you work with the community, they're going to tell you what the issues are, and they're going to tell you what they need from you, instead of you assuming what they want from you. Like, you have to understand that the people, like, if I'm in Suffolk and I'm a police department in Suffolk, it don't make sense to just go out in Suffolk and just start summoning everybody. Let Suffolk people say, hey, listen, we have an issue by the bay. People by the bay are bringing in drugs. The drugs are the cause of our issues. Target the Bay Area, versus targeting the whole of Suffolk, and everybody Suffolk vexed, because they're like, I'm not even part of violence. Why are you giving me a summons for drinking, open containment? Like, this doesn't address the violence of the day.
Perspective
So you're right. So, like, community policing is not. We're not saying we shouldn't make arrests, because you see, we're still making arrests. We're still doing summonses, but you're summoning and arresting the people that are causing the majority of the issue. And it's okay to say, you know what, this person will give you a break today, because we know you're not integrated in violence. We're going to try to rehabilitate you and make sure you don't continue on a path that may lead you to violence. So, community policing, I love it, because I'm a part of a community. And I've been, I live in Queens, but I lived in Brooklyn. And I wanted cops to ask me what's going on. And, don't assume you know. And don't assume all the criminal informants are telling you the truth. They're telling you
think
stuff
it can work?
It has been working. So if you look at and like the crime in New York City, I know some cops are gonna say, well, violence seems to be going up. So overall crime is down, right? Crime has been going down for a long time. So which means we didn't necessarily need the over policing in terms of summonses and arrests. We didn't necessarily need it. The idea behind it was, well, people will know that cops are on the street, so if cops are on the street, don't do crime. But those two are not one and the same. So what I see now with the job is they do more of like big cases. They gather intelligence and they go after the big gangs. So when you do a gang takedown, you see the crime diminishing quickly. So with policing, community policing works, and I like it because, like I said, when the community is happy, the cops are happy because the community likes the cops and the cops likes the community. But when the community hates the cops, now the cops are on higher alert, and we see what happens when cops are on high alert. They don't necessarily police the way you want them to because you've now raised their level of suspicion because you upset at them. You know, like cops are people, right? That's what one thing I want people to take away from this whole thing is that cops are people that are in uniform, yes, but they come from your community, so they're a person. So you have to take yourself and put yourself in uniform. And it's easy to say, oh, you know, if I was a cop, I wouldn't do that. Well, you're not a cop. You didn't go through what they went through. You haven't fought anybody. You haven't been shot at. You haven't taken guns off of anyone. You haven't responded to like really critical jobs. You haven't seen anybody die in front of you, get their face blown off in front of you. So it's easy to say like, oh, if I was a cop, I wouldn't do that. Really? I don't know. I don't know
Not
you
until
wouldn't
you
do
walk
that.
a mile in
Right, not until you
that
put that
person's
vest and
shoe.
that gun
Yeah.
belt on, and you have to police people who don't want to see you. So I would say remember that they're people. So people are flawed. But you have to understand that yes, cops are at a higher standard and we should police correctly. And this is why now with the community being involved, we're trying. So we recognize we're flawed and well, we can make mistakes, but we are trying to fix the mistakes of the past. So with the violence that's going up, a lot of things go into violence. It's not just policing. So when laws change and policing also goes along with the laws being changed. So we have a lot of laws that affect certain areas that will increase crime. So if there's a law before that ensured certain people stayed in and now the law is not there anymore and more people are out, you're going to see more guns on the street. So I don't want people to think that, oh, NYPD gave up, so there's so many guns out there now as NYPD. Like, no, NYPD has the highest number of guns taken off of the street in 2020. Highest number of guns. Meanwhile, the number of stops decreased.
I saw my sister posting that things are much better now.
Well, I mean, it's better in terms of the community trusting cops. I think I can't speak for the community because I don't live in the Bronx. I can speak for the Queens community. I know I'm happy when I see a cop, but I'm also a cop. But I speak to my friends all the time. They don't like the videos they see from other police departments when they overutilize force. But I think that they're comfortable if they see a cop. I mean, we have a lot of work to do. I mean, America has a lot of work to do. So policing is just a small facet in America. So we're now seeing more Black Lives Matter. We're seeing a female vice president. We're seeing change, right? Change is slow, but it's happening. So once America changes its culture, you're going to start seeing the police culture changing as well because police is part of the culture.
Okay.
So I think, you know, I like it. I know a lot of cops are getting used to the policing style, and it's either get used to it or leave, you know, I can't tell you.
You're a black police officer. You're a proponent of Black Lives Matter. We had the situation with Breonna Taylor, with George Floyd.
Yeah.
How did you balance that?
Well, that was interesting. So I'll be honest with you, after a while I stopped looking at those videos, and it's not because I don't believe every life matters or like people are not important to, I just, it's a lot looking at these videos. I don't want to watch somebody die in real time. I've seen it enough at work. Like I've gone to the scenes of people actually dying and I'm hoping they tell me who did it. Like I don't want to watch videos of cops being involved in that. So like sometimes I kind of try to enclose myself and try to, you have to protect your mental health at the end of the day. But you know, with one of my good friends, Kenya, like he's in law school, and like we talk about a lot of cases involving law and policing. So it's kind of hard to not look at it. So with Breonna Taylor, I'll come back to Breonna Taylor. But when the George Floyd incident happened where he lost his life with police officer Chauvin, I don't even know if you should call him a police officer. He didn't earn that title in my opinion. But when you see something like that, every cop, white, black, Asian, female, male, they were disgusted with it. They were appalled. Normally when a video comes out, you hear a cop say, well, he shouldn't have resisted, or like, well, we don't know what the cop was thinking. Let's give the cop the benefit of the doubt. Because you are a part of a blue family, so you don't want to assume your family is, bad. You want to see, well, let's find out why the cop did this. But with Chauvin, no cop had any explanation where they were like, oh, well, he was on drugs. Like, no one could try to justify what he did, because at the end of the day, it was just so blatant. Like, you could see this person's life didn't matter at all. So when I say Black Lives Matter, I want to make sure that people understand that cops don't necessarily believe Black Lives Matter. I think cops believe all lives matter, right? But when they say what I do understand with the issue they have with Black Lives Matter in terms of the movement is that when we respond to some details where there's like protests, when people have the Black Lives Matter logo or paraphernalia, they don't treat the cops very well. So what they're doing is they're associating the organization with hatred towards the cops, because when they go to the protests and the riots, they are mistreated by those people. So they've associated violence with Black Lives Matter. So in their head, it's like they don't necessarily love the movement because it has been violent in the past. And when I mean it has, there are a lot of people that infiltrate organizations all the time, where the peaceful protesters, no cops have an issue with peaceful protesters because it's your constitutional right to protest. Peaceful protest mean just like Martin Luther King, he marched on Selma. It's a peaceful protest. You can let the government know you are not happy with how things are going. Let police departments know you are not happy with what happened. When it comes into violence, where people are throwing things at cops, fighting cops, pushing cops, and calling them pigs. I've been called a pig, I've been called a sellout, all types of names, and you have to be stoic and act like it doesn't bother you. When you get off, you're going to be mad. You're going to be like, yo, I went there to protect these people. They call me pigs. I'm not shoving. I didn't kill anyone. So now they've associated every time you go to a Black Lives Matter protest and there are people within the protest mistreating you, you're going to associate, you're not going to say, it's only those little people in that little group. It's not the whole movement. You're not going to say that. You're going to be like, you know what, these people don't care about cops, so we don't care about them. But when I say Black Lives Matter, I'm talking about the concept of knowing that Black people in America historically have been mistreated. And we know that by basic history. We know slavery. Let's not forget that happened. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget also too, women were also mistreated in the U.S. by not given certain rights to vote and to make equal pay. I mean, in 1971, you had Richard Nixon, a U.S. president, saying that he will never appoint a female to the U.S. Supreme Court because he does not believe females should be executives. You have the U.S. president saying that in 1970. 1970 is not that long ago. Mm-hmm. Like a U.S. president is saying that vocally. So, we know that America has a history with misogyny and also racism. So when I say I believe in Black Lives Matter, I believe that Black people matter and shouldn't be mistreated because they're Black. Mm-hmm. I believe that women shouldn't be looked at less than because they were born a woman. Mm-hmm. So when I say I try to empower women, like now I'm big on recruiting women to my detective squad because I want to see women detectives. I want to see female executives. I always encourage females around me to move up because I want to see more. I want to go to a meeting and it be commonplace and standard to see female executives. Like I don't want to be, I'm always the only one there. Mm-hmm. So I'm the only female there, I'm the only Black, sometimes the only Black. I want to see more of diversity because diversity brings to me wealth and prosperity. And the job has embraced my differences. So I wasn't mistreated because I was female or Black or West Indian or young or had a funny accent. They loved it. They embraced me. They gave me a great opportunity since I was a cadet. Remember I told you? Mm-hmm. The cops were telling me, you're a smart cadet, you're going to be chief, they're taking me to school, giving me great advice. Till to this day, the job, like I said, they retained me in the detective bureau. I never went back on patrol. They've continued to provide me with opportunities. So I wasn't the victim of racism or misogyny in the department where it held back my career. But I can see how sometimes we also hold back our own selves because of the treatment that we get in also our personal lives. Mm-hmm. When you're mistreated because you're female and people think you're less than, you're going to take that with you generally everywhere you go and say, well, you know what, I shouldn't apply because they're not going to take me anyway.
Mm-hmm. Immigrants, you also...
oh yeah, well, I always put hashtag on Instagram. I always say immigrants make America great. Because, America was built on the backs of immigrants. Let's stop playing ourselves. Like, Black people came to America from slavery. That's an immigrant, not a willing immigrant, but even the Native Americans were here too. They were native, but the way they were treated, it was like Like people forgot that they came there. So all the people that are Caucasian that look down on immigrants, or even the born non-Caucasian people that look down on immigrants, like, bro, you come from America, stop playing yourself. Like all the white Irish people, Ireland is not America, sir. You're from an immigrant family, whether or not you want to admit it. So don't get me wrong, I'm not necessarily for open borders. I feel like we need to have some sort of system. But listen, I came here on a green card. Like if I didn't believe immigration was important, then I would be playing myself, because then I would think that I shouldn't be here either. Whether or not I'm legal or illegal is irrelevant. It's that I'm not from America, but I was allowed to come here and work hard and get the things that I deserve. So, that's what I think is important. Anybody in a minority group that has been mistreated just because of who they are is crazy. It's like, I didn't pick my skin color, I didn't pick my gender, and I definitely didn't necessarily want to be called an immigrant. I just saw an opportunity, and I was hoping that people would allow me to move forward with the opportunity and be a productive member of society, which a lot of people are. So yeah, that's what I wanted to clear that up, because I know some cops are going to be like, BLM, I'm like, no, just wait a second. I don't condone violence ever. But it's important to really talk about that and, see the diversity. And now I'm happy we have a female vice president. You don't know how happy I was. I was like, and initially, with politics it's very difficult, because, a lot of people are conservative on the job. There are a lot of Republicans on the job. And I try to stay away from discussing politics at work, because I like a good separation. But you see, I was such a big advocate for seeing a female in such a high executive position. I'm excited when I see a female. Even when the female Supreme Court Justice was appointed, Amy, people were saying, it's another Trump conservative. At the end of the day, I was like, she's a female, man. Like, let's go. Let's see more females. Let's see more black females. Female spirit. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly.
I want to see more me. Let's see more me. Let's make this like. Let us be average now. That's what. So yeah, I know I could talk forever.
Yes, I listen. And there's a lot more I would love to talk to you about.
Yeah, I know. We gotta wrap it up.
It is 10:23, the time in the studios. And oh my God, Lieutenant Rennae Francis, you've just been absolutely awesome.
Oh, thank
no
you.
question about that. As we get ready to wrap up the program, Dominica, I'm sure will always remain Dominica to the bone, to the heart. What would you like to see done to assist people like you promote Dominica out there, promote Dominica more out there, and to get people to come to visit our beautiful island, Dominica?
I mean, most Dominicans that I do follow on social media are pretty good about posting where they're from and always highlighting their trips, and trying to get Dominica to the level that we would like it to. I would like to see, I know the Stuff Dominica, they're doing a great job with social media, and even sometimes you see us on like Price is Right as like a prize that you can win to come to Dominica, so that's great. But I do want to see us more in like magazines, or like, you always see Barbados, right? You always see St. Lucia, and yeah, they do have the international airport. But we can offer so much, because even on my Instagram, I have so many Americans messaging me saying, "Oh, why didn't you take me with you? Or I would love to go there."
Yes.
So they want to. It's just the ability of reaching that audience. I think we have to. I think there's a huge diaspora community in America, not just New York, in Florida, Texas. I think if we really become a collective, where I know there's Connect 767 and stuff like that, but if we do a collective where we ensure that we can pool our resources together to make sure any opportunity that we get in radio or Instagram or whatever, because a lot of people have a lot of followings, and if we can buy local and support each other more, and so we can put Dominica on the map, and a lot of people are doing tremendous things. Like, I have Ian John, a friend of mine in Florida, who's an engineer. He has he's a big part of that company. And what I notice with Dominicans that are doing well is that in their head it's like, oh, it's no big deal. So it's like they don't want to, you know, they're very humble. So
But
they
it's
don't
like
want to.
you too.
Well,
You're
okay,
a perfect example
okay,
of
but
that
all right,
tonight.
right, okay. Well, what I'm saying is that it's okay for us to like utilize our influence that we, because everybody on the job knows I'm from Dominica, right? Who knows me? So it's like you, wherever you work, everybody should know where you. And if we have every diaspora person, no matter what rank they are in a company, constantly pushing the Dominica agenda of tourism and going back home, we'll get there, because there's so many of us in America. Ask for England.
They say there's more out of Dominica than
right, which is probably true. So we need to. It's easy to like, you know, take on the American culture and the accent and start sounding crazy. Even that's why I was kind of scared. I was like, boy, I don't know my accent.
No, you're
like,
fine.
Okay, so I'm like, yeah, because you know, my friend will correct me in 1 second, right?
You're good, my sister. You're good.
But you know, we need to keep the culture so that people can ask, where are you from? Because if we assimilate and we take on their culture, it's like, then you're not doing Dominica a service, because now you're American, you're not Dominican, right? You need to keep pushing the Dominica, because we're so small. So it takes us to do that sometimes. We cannot just always rely on government. Oh, government not doing anything. Like,
we have to play our part as well.
We have to make sure that we're doing our part for Dominica. So,
all right, Rennae, I'm going to give you some time to just wrap up.
Okay.
Yes, we have wrap up time now. Okay. I know we could go all night. We could
all right,
go all night. Both of us could go all
yes.
night.
Let's wrap up.
So Rennae, again, a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you for consenting to be here with us.
Absolutely.
And it was a pleasure. I think, you know, you shared so much with us.
I know.
You know,
maybe too much.
No. And we're so happy. We're so happy for that. And I know I speak on behalf of everyone who's listening and viewing that it was an absolute joy to have you on the program tonight. We're going to give you an opportunity for your final comments.
Final comments.
Yes.
I want to say that, you know, I would not be here if it wasn't for the love of my family, my aunts, my cousins, my sister, have really been my rock from day one. So also my family on the seaman side also played a huge role. So I want to thank my family first and foremost, as well as God, right? God is part of my family. So I always want to say, let people know that your family, even if you may be far apart, because a lot of my family don't live with me, and I pretty much live in Queens by myself. I don't have immediate family in Queens or in the 5 boroughs. Don't ever feel like, you know, we have WhatsApp, we have ways of keeping up with them, but don't insulate yourself too much. Always remember where you're from, come back home, visit them, spend time with them. Or go where they are, right? Whether they're in Belize or Trinidad, go where they are and spend some time with them, and it will bring you back to your roots. So I want to thank them. I want to thank you, Ferdina, obviously, for bringing me on here. I mean, and everyone that gave me these gifts, I mean, thank you so much. I mean, it's so, sometimes, like you said, it's hard for me to even think that people would even care about my story. But because my story, I feel like is your story, is everyone's story, because I came. If it wasn't for Dominica and my upbringing and the way people embraced me and my family, even my friends who are Dominicans in part of the diaspora in New York, in the New Jersey area, if it wasn't for them, that support system I have, because I went for, like I said, I went for a little dark time when my mother passed, because I was just kind of questioning a lot of things, and people just kept encouraging me, and so I wanna say to. For anybody that looks like me, that's in a position where you're unsure of being an executive, just do it, man. What's the worst that could happen? You're not a good executive? All right, well, at least you try.
Move on to something.
You know, and my mother always used to, I want to leave this with the listeners. My mother always used to say, you cannot be considered if you don't apply. So don't ever hold yourself back, right? If there's a position, apply for it. If they don't take you, they don't take you. Keep applying. At some point, they're going to get fed up and like you again. And maybe they take you just because they fed up of seeing your resume again. But don't ever hold yourself back. Always think that you can do something, and be your biggest motivator. And you'll see when you do it, you'll be like, what? I could do that? What? They take me? And it's okay. And I know Dominicans like to be very humble. It's okay. Put yourself on there, man. Let people see, like, wow, you have a PhD. Wow, you masters. Don't think like, oh, I just have a bachelor's. I just have a high school diploma. You can work towards bettering yourself, and it doesn't have to be for education. You can start a small business. Maybe you have a talent. Maybe you sing, maybe you dance, maybe don't listen to my mother, you can't do photography. You know, a lot of photographers in Dominica making a lot of money. Big up to secretly Dominican that have a talent, and if you have a talent, exploit it and show it, and you can bring joy to people's lives by doing that. So yeah, that's it. And if you're a woman, you know, you could do anything that men doing, because I'm always in a room full of men, and it don't intimidate me because I know, you know, I may be even better than them.
That's right.
So we got a female VP. Hopefully we got a female POTUS. I'm hoping Kamala Harris becomes the POTUS one day. Maybe you could be POTUS, I don't know, but you could do, maybe we have a female PM at some point. I know, Scarrett, you've been there a long time. We need a female PM, man. It's our time. It's our time. So yeah, that's all I'd like to say. So thank you very much for tuning in. It's been I know you have work tomorrow, so we'll wrap it up here.
Girl, you're just awesome. Thank you to Lieutenant Rennae Francis for joining us on the In the Spotlight radio show tonight. Thank you again, Rennae, and thank you again to Prime Wagon, to my good friends Danielle and Kendra, my colleagues as well. Sakla, thank you Sakla for the beautiful mask. I hope she wears it while she's at work. JD's Naturals, Awesome Coco, DCP Successors, Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, Tony Sponge, We Forward, Deepex, and the Dominica Festivals Committee. And to all of you who support the show in one way or the other, who support me in one way or the other. Next week, Monday, we have another great female. It's International Women's Day. And I'm going to bring in a woman who's been championing the cause of phenomenal women in Dominica. Yes. And you should know who that is next week, Monday, right here on the In the Spotlight radio show. Good night, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. Leave us a nice comment in the comments if you wish. We'll see you again next week, Monday, and we want to wish Rennae a fabulous time for whatever left on her vacation, and that she has a safe journey back to New York when she returns. Good night, everyone, and goodbye.